Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 3 of What If Naruto was a pervert in Highschooldxd. If you guys enjoyed this what if, then comment, like and subscribe. Let's go. Also the video goal is 10 likes, so let me know that you're interested in the series and you want the next part. Then go ahead and check out the other what ifs in the channel. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and leave. Also share the video with your friends and link in the description. So let's go. Asia looked at Naruto nervously as she tried to find the right way to say it. You were screaming her name a lot in your sleep for the past week. Oh, so that's how she knew. And wait, he was screaming when he had nightmares for a week and she heard it. No wonder she was worried and called Rias. So with a sigh, Naruto explained a part of his past he didn't tell them. The girls listened intently to his sad story and immediately regretted bringing the story up. It was like he was reliving his nightmare over again. So the girls did what they could. They hugged him and comforted him. It was a trying week for Naruto and he couldn't help but melt into their hug. He had asked Zirconis to up the perv dosage so that he wouldn't have to deal with the nightmares, but it seems the effects were late. Until no. Naruto, please give me my bra back, Rias said calmly while Asia just turned red when she felt her panties disappear. How he did it this time they wouldn't know, even Naruto, who seemed surprised as he held the two articles of clothing in front of him. He didn't even activate steel. I don't know how that happened, he. Naruto laughed nervously. Well, it's getting late, I think I will retire, said Naruto as he went to his room. He was surprised when the two girls followed him into his room and started striping, although Asia was hesitant, but she didn't want to be outdone by Rias. Hey, what the heck do you think you are doing? Shouted a blushing Naruto. Well, I heard that sleeping next to a girl chases nightmares away, said Rias as if it's a common thing. Okay, at least put some underwear on, otherwise I think that plan would chase even my sleep away, said Naruto. The girls did as he suggested and they sandwiched Naruto between them. It took some time for Naruto to fall asleep, but he had a few thoughts in mind. One was boobs and soft skin and the other was Hinata has some serious competition in the boobs department in this dimension. Luckily Naruto Jr. didn't cause any incident, at least not yet. Next morning, the night passed by quickly for the residents of the small apartment. There were no nightmares that night, meaning Rias' plan worked. Said girl was waking up from her beautiful rest. She got up and stretched her body, showing beautiful body which was very naked. Wait, what? She checked herself and yes, she was naked. She was sure she slept with her underwear on. Ramen-flavored panties, she heard Naruto mumble in his sleep, and when she looked at him she saw what looked like the last piece of her panties disappear in his mouth. She quickly threw the covers off and she saw that even Asia, who was now waking up, was also naked. They were both naked. Does that mean that Naruto was sleep-eating? Naruto, wake up. Both Naruto and Asia woke up and they both blushed at seeing Rias naked. Rias, why are you naked? Naruto shouted as he tried to look away, but his eyes were glued onto those glorious orbs. You tell me, and I am not the only one who is naked, you know. Asia then looked at herself and saw that she too was naked. She tried to cover herself the best she could. Naruto, on the other hand, was strangely calm as he took something and unconsciously started to eat it, causing Asia to blush beyond what is possible. Oh yeah, he was casually eating Asia's underwear without even noticing he was doing it. That was the effect of the increased pervy hormones. Until he gets used to it, he can just randomly stripe a girl and start eating her panties without even realizing it. And this is just one of the side effects. Naruto, you ate our underwear in your sleep, Rias stated. Naruto blinked, then swallowed, then blinked again. Sleep eating, well that's new. He just laughed nervously before he disappeared to take a very long cold shower. Breakfast was very awkward between the three of them. Well, for Rias, she didn't mind, she was used to being naked, but having her panties eaten again was another issue. For Asia, well, the girl couldn't look Naruto in the eye without blushing a storm. And Naruto was trying not to remember those heavenly bodies that he saw, otherwise Naruto Jr. would betray him. He only hoped that his pervy side wouldn't act up at school. Oh, how often what we wish for we don't get, but the exact opposite. The three of them then walked to school, where they did their usual routine until they met at the end of the day for a meeting. Everyone was seating in their usual places as they waited for Rias to start the meeting. Alright, now that everything is settled, I think it's time for us to get our new members their familiars, don't you think? Rias said, getting a nod from everyone. She then explained the importance having familiars and even showed the new members her familiar along with the others who had their familiars including Issei. So the only ones who don't have familiars are Asia and Naruto. So we will have to check on Sona first before we can do anything. So, Akino, Naruto come with me, Ria said as she left the club room dismissing the other members. Naruto told Asia to wait for him so they could go together. Student council room. Sona and her queen were just wrapping up their paperwork. The black-haired beauty was signing the last paper when the door to her club room opened and Rias and her team came in. She was happy to see her friend again after that fiasco. Rias looked alive then when she was still trying to get out of that marriage. She then turned her gaze to Naruto who felt the urge to run away. Why? Because Sona wanted to kill him. Sarah Fall had a field day with her after she found out Naruto stole Sona's panties. She leveled a cold gaze at Naruto, but with those glasses of hers Naruto just found her cute, or maybe that was his pervy side. Hey Rias, what can I do for you today? She asked as she kept her gaze trained at Naruto. I was planning on going to the familiar forest to get familiars for my new members. I wanted to verify if you wanted to visit the forest, Rias asked ignoring Sona's hostile gaze on Naruto. Sona blinked as she shifted her gaze to Rias. Oh, we already visited the forest a while back, so you can have this one. And please make sure no more perverted familiars, especially in the hands of this one, Sona said as she pointed a finger at Naruto only to find a dotted shape of Naruto where he used to be. Now where the hell did he go to? Sona then stiffened as she felt someone massaging her boobs. The others were surprised at this action until Rias and Akino noticed the empty look in Naruto's eye, meaning regular Naruto was not home. Oh great, another pervy spell, and on Sona too. Naruto had a stupid grin on his face while he occasionally giggled as he played with Sona's breasts. Said girl was frozen as she felt an unfamiliar heat flood her body. She cheeks were flushed and she felt weak in the joints. She hadn't felt like this before and she was conflicted on whether she liked it or not. She tried her best to remain calm and beat some sense into this pervert, but her body refused. The occasional moans didn't help either. Era looks like Naruto-kun is enjoying himself, said Akino as she covered her flushed cheeks. She wished that Naruto would perv on her like that. Damn, he is getting worse by the minute, Rias said as she debated on whether to help her friend or just enjoy the show. Well, Sona is usually uptight, so maybe this will help loosen her up. Plus this was pretty entertaining, well, for those into hentai anime anyway, but who isn't these days? Tsubaki on the other hand had gotten over her shock, so she tried to save her king. What the hell do you think you are doing, you pervert? She shouted as she tried to clobber Naruto with a punch. Naruto simply dodges her punch as if he was on autopilot. A tick mark appeared on the girl's head at having her initial attack miss, so she tried again to hit him, but every time she did he always dodged her like it was nothing. Worse, he was still fondling Sona even more. She finally forced Naruto to let go, who then started to blink. What the hell just happened? Naruto asked with a confused look. You did it again, Rias said as she face-palmed. Naruto looked around the room and spotted a very flushed and out-of-breath Sona and a very angry Tsubaki. That's when he realized that he did it again, but the question was, what the heck did he do to these girls? Sona composed herself and silently got up and walked straight at Naruto. Now Naruto was no expert in women, but even he could tell that the girl was pissed. So he started to back away as the girl approached him. First you steal my panties, then you eat them, then you come into my office and molest me. This time I am so gonna kill you, Sona said in an eerie voice. Naruto just laughed nervously as he led up his hands in a surrendering motion as he tried to calm the girl. But things don't go the way we want them to. For in Naruto's hands were Sona's and Tsubaki's panties. Well shit, how the hell does this keep happening? Looking nervously at the two ladies, well ladies, look at the time. Bye, and with that Naruto ran for his life, keeping the panties of course. That was quite the haul for the day, he. Get back here, you pervert, shouted Sona with Tsubaki following her king. Well, it looks like things are going to be livelier than usual, said a blushing Akino. Rias took a moment to figure out why her friend was blushing. It was either the show Naruto put out or he took your panties too, didn't he? Akino could only nod, but in her head she was thinking of various S&M scenes she will definitely put Naruto through. While running, Naruto felt a shiver ran down his spine. Okay, whose panties did he take this time? Who made him feel this way? After ditching Sona and Tsubaki, Naruto quickly located Asia and dragged her as far away from the school as possible. He could have teleported home using the teleportation circle, but he enjoyed walking home. So he and Asia passed by a food stand, bought some burgers and eat as they went home. And when they came home they were faced with a challenge. Asia, I might have a bad sense of direction, but even I know where home is. Are we lost or something? Said Naruto as he looked at the most extravagant mansion he had ever seen in the human world. Said mansion in the spot their apartment complex should have been. I don't think we are lost, but this is weird. Did someone steal our home? Asked the timid Asia as she too beheld the amazing house. Let's go away for a while, maybe it will disappear, suggested Naruto as he turned to leave, but felt some familiar signatures popping up in front of the mansion. Turning around he saw Rias, Akino, Little Fried Chicken, Revel, and 1010 wannabe, Shui. Oh, and the late person he saw surprise him, scary and hot silver-haired maid was here as well. So he and Asia went to meet them. Hey, what are you guys doing here? Naruto asked as he looked around, his eyes ravaging the girls. Shui and Revel blushed as they tried to hide behind Graphia, who looked pissed as hell. Whoever the hell pissed her off is in trouble. He can only hope she is not here to stay. Well, we are moving in with you. My brother thought it would be good idea to build you a bigger house. He said it's a gift for as a thank you and something about filling it with your harem, Rias said as a matter of fact. Wait, hold the phone, what harem are we talking about here? I am not Issei, whose dream is to be harem king. My dream is to be king of the pirates, Naruto shouted, holding his hand up in a fuffy pose. Everyone's sweat dropped. Ah, that's Luffy's dream. And stop watching too much anime, Rias said. Okay, I don't like the harem thing, I mean how can I handle many girls? Well, if I had my chakra back, liar, that wouldn't be a problem. I was known as a one-man army, you know, Naruto said in a proud voice. In truth he was lying. He already had his chakra and the harem thing was tempting, but he hasn't gotten over Hinata yet. Era a one-man army, you said. How does that work? Asked a very interested Akino, as the other girls, even Graphia, were also intrigued. Well, I could make 1,000 clones of myself. They aren't durable, but I could make 20 overpowered clones which were durable. They can do anything I can, so I can handle 20 girls at the same time and outlast them since my stamina is legendary, said Naruto, not knowing he had dug his own grave with that piece of information. Era legendary stamina, you say? I wouldn't mind if we test it out now, said Akino in a seductive tone, sending shivers down Naruto's spine. Okay, this isn't going well. He might have to throw away the Hinata pity party away sooner than he thought. Rias whacked Akino on the head as she herself blushed. Future harem members assembled. Unlocking harem master skill, Zirconis said in a game-like tone. This sent all the girls minus Graphia, who was more composed, into a blushing frenzy. Hey, don't give them any funny ideas. I don't need a harem, Naruto shouted at Zirconis. You will after I am done with you. Don't worry ladies, by the time I am done with him he will be all over your asses, Zirconis said before Naruto had to dodge some ice swords from Graphia. Okay, this mood of hers doesn't bode well with his health. Okay, so are all you girls moving in with us? Naruto said, and Asia looked saddened by having to have all this competition. The answer was yes. Rias wanted to get closer to Naruto, as was Akino's reason, although Akino was starting to scare Naruto. Shui came as part of the bet he made with the fried chicken in addition to the rating game stipulations. Revel, well, the Phoenix family wanted her to learn about the human world, so they decided Naruto would be her caretaker. Graphia was another story together. Naruto asked hsdxd to find him a super maid for the house he planned to have built with all the money he had in won. And hsdxd sent him this. It seems that hsdxd took the opportunity to get rid of her. Naruto eyed her again and he could feel his pervy side coming out. He pulled out an outfit from out of nowhere. That maid outfit won't do. Please put this on, Naruto said as he showed them a very skimpy maid outfit. In his defense, Graphia's maid outfit covered too much and he really wanted to see what she was hiding under there. Graphia projected the fabled aura of doom as she approached Naruto. Naruto-sama, I might be your maid but I am not wearing that, she said as she made 2 ice daggers. Poor Naruto started running for his life, with Zirconis commenting that it wasn't his fault this time. Is he going to be alright? Revel asked as she looked worried in the direction Naruto ran in. Don't worry, he is going to be alright. Ouch, that's my ass, well, most of him anyway. Let's get settled, Rias said as more cried from Naruto sounded. It's been 2 weeks and the girls all settled in nicely. They all picked their rooms with Asia being closest to him. They gave Naruto the master bedroom much to his shock. The house itself was huge and well furnished. He had no qualms with this as he would divert his money somewhere where most of his gambling money went. Grafia was still moody, to which Naruto asked Rias, who also didn't know. So Naruto was determined to find out why she was this angry, and when Naruto sets his mind on something he will do it. He also promised that one day he would put a smile on Grafia's face, to which he dodged an ice dagger and a well-hidden blush from the maid. So all was well with his new house guests, well except for the chains, that is. Since Naruto's nightmares were ended by the increased dose of pervenus from Zirconis, he had been getting worse with his sleep pervenus. So it was decided that until he accepts the harem thing he was sleeping in chains. This was suggested by Asia, much to the protest of everyone except Grafia, who had a wicked smile on her face. Well, that all changed after Naruto was found in the hallway still tied to the bed with a trail of destruction which can be traced to his room. So they agreed Naruto was sleeping in chains every night. Zirconis, how long is this going to take anyway? Asked Naruto, who woke up this time in his bedroom but with the bed on top of him. Hard to say, it might be a few months before you get used to it, Zirconis answered Naruto. So you are telling me I am gonna randomly steal panties and bras and grope women like a maniac for an indefinite period of time, Naruto said in a dry tone. Yap. Great, now how was he going to survive at a school filled with girls? Luckily it seems that he only goes pervert when he is around powerful women, not normal human girls. But still it could get very dangerous, especially when he goes perv on women like Grafia. Right now we find Naruto in the basement of the house putting up seals and runes on the walls of the basement. Since the basement was huge, he decided that a part of it would be the training room where they would use their more destructive attacks without having to worry. First he placed reinforcement seals that strengthened the ground and the walls of the room. He then placed an auto-regeneration seals to fix the place if they exceed the durability of the reinforcement seals. He then placed barrier runes combined with the Crimson Flames barrier, hope I got this right, to hide their elevated signatures when they train and as a last resort in case the first 2 seals failed. All this was done without anyone else knowing what he was doing, otherwise they would ask a ton of questions, especially the Crimson Flames barrier, which needs about 4 cage level people to activate. After finishing the room he tested the room, of course. He really wanted to try out his powerful jutsu without alerting everyone. Oh, how he loved busting out those jutsu after a long time. So he started practicing his speed, followed by all forms of his Rasengan. When he was satisfied he then moved on to his elemental jutsu, which also worked. The only thing he didn't try out yet was Sage mode. After his training he went into the living room where he found the rest of the gang there. Since it was the weekend, the others were making it a habit to meet at the mansion instead of the club room. Shui and Revel didn't have a peerage yet, but Naruto promised to make Shui his rook since Akuja hasn't finished making his pieces yet. He found everyone else waiting outside except for Rias, Akino and Asia. It seems that they were having a meeting, so he decided to use his enhanced ears to listen. So this concludes the Harem League meeting. Soon we will start our operation, so let's be patient, came the voice of Rias. What the heck were they talking about in there? Harem League, operation, what are those girls planning? Soon the door opened and they were allowed in, but Naruto looked at the girls cautiously. But enough about the Harem League thing, he wanted to train his team so that they can become strong. Rias had held up their visit to the familiar forest because of their guests, so they had time. Plus they had rested long enough, so it's time for some torture, training. However, before he could even suggest that, he saw Kaneko stiffen and he too stiffened. He could feel someone with chakra at their front door. The chakra was cage level and this surprised him. What caused him to freeze was that the chakra signature felt familiar to someone he knew, but that was impossible since that person was dead. There is someone at the door who possesses chakra, lots of it, Kaneko said in an alarmed tone as she stood up. The others did as well when they saw Kaneko's concern and Naruto's frozen state. But they didn't worry that much, as they were sure that with Grafia around they will be fine. Speaking of the silver-haired devil, she came in followed by a girl wearing a white dress, and she looked to be the same age as Naruto. She had weird eyes without pupils with long lavender hair reaching her lower back. She was beautiful, rivaling Graphia, and Issei couldn't help but give a perverted giggle as he saw those large eyes. Graphia stood next to the girl ready for anything. The girl was strong, that's for sure, and an experienced fighter, so she had to be ready for anything. "Excuse me, Rias-sama, this girl here is looking for the perverted Jade Dragon harem king as she termed it, so I thought she meant him," Graphia said as she pointed to Naruto, who looked like he was about to have a panic attack. "Naruto, what wrong?" Asia asked as she saw Naruto hyperventilating. "No, it can't be, you are dead," Naruto said in between breaths. "Was my Foxy-kun," the girl said in a loving smile. This sent everyone in a conundrum of confusion. These know each other. When did they meet, and how was such a powerful person not known until now? This has to be some kind of trick. I watched you die. I buried you. Who are you alive? Naruto said as he prepared to fight. His first thoughts were she was a reanimation, but she looked and felt human and not a zombie, plus her emotions were genuine, and this confused him. "Yoruichi-chan sends her regards. If you want you can test to see if I am real," the girl replied as she approached Naruto, and this again confused everyone, especially when they saw Naruto with a look of realization. Who the hell is Yoruichi? The others prepared to fight as the girl stood in front of Naruto, who did something that made them all, even Graphia, facefo. He started to fondle her breasts while nodding his head, earning a few moans from the girl. "Yep, she is the real deal, all right," Naruto said as he nodded his head, all the while continuing to fondle the girl. Everyone's sweat dropped. What sort of twisted way of identifying someone is that? There are a lot of ways to verify someone, and that's not even on the list. In Naruto's defense, this worked during the war when he met a Zetsu clone that was almost too perfect. It failed miserably on the boobs test, of course. After fondling the girl, Naruto hugged the girl for dear life while crying, thanking the Yoruichi person and saying that he wasn't going to prank her like he planned. After his meltdown, Naruto decided to introduce the girl. "Hey guys, I would like you to meet my not dead anymore girlfriend, Hinata." Okay, now that too much shock for everyone, especially Rias and Asia, who saw this beauty. They knew that Naruto would be satisfied with a girl like this, and it would be difficult for their plan to work with her around. Hinata, on the other hand, looked around, especially on the girls in the room. She then looked at Naruto, who was now nervous about something. If Hinata found out how much of a pervert he was, his man-bits won't survive to eat their first meal. Hinata nodded to herself as she suddenly flushed in front of Rias before anyone could react. She did something that threw everyone off guard. She started to fondle Rias' breast while humming to herself. "MMMH, good choice, these will do nicely. So are all these girls my harem sisters to be? Though I seem to have serious competition in the boobs department," Hinata asked innocently. "Ya, too much shock." Naruto decided to pull a Hinata, and he just fainted with one thought in mind. What the hell did Yoruichi do to Hinata? Soul Society. Yoruichi was lazing around like a cat when she felt a chill run down her spine. "I know Naruto liked his gift, but I feel like I am forgetting something." Elemental Nations. Tsunade and Shizune were watching a video sent by a mysterious person with mouths hung open. The note on the video said that it was about Naruto in the new world, so they were excited to see how he was doing. What they found was an edited video of the rating game with the Phoenix peerage. All scenes were those of Naruto molesting the girl with little fighting in it. "Oh my. What the hell has the brat become? And what has he done to my medical ninjutsu?" Tsunade said with a socked face and a very difficult to spot blush. "Oh my, what a technique. We have to make sure he doesn't touch us in public, otherwise it will be embarrassing," said a blushing Shizune as she tried not to rub her thighs together while thinking of that perverted technique used on her. "When I see that brat, I am going to kill him." Naruto's life was officially weirder now than usual. From his perverseness because of Zirconis to Hinata being a pervert herself and trying to get Naruto to bang all the girls in his house. Things were hectic. Well, time for some fun, and what better way than to bring a movie to real life. This was going to be fun. It was the weekend and the visit to the familiar forest was postponed again. We find all the girls from Rias peerage at Naruto's house along with their guys. Kiba and Issei were busy with their own stuff, but they were to arrive for their training in an hour or so. Apart from Naruto trying to steal everyone's panties, everything was normal. Well, until now at least. In the front yard we find a frozen Kaneko and an equally frozen Akino looking at the scene occurring in the yard. Off to the other side we find the usually cool-headed Graphia with tick marks all over her head as she too looked at what was happening. "This is happening right," Akino asked. Yes, I see them too, Kaneko answered. They just showed up and made camp here. I tried to ignore them thinking they will go away but they aren't. What the hell is going on? They shouldn't exist, Graphia said. Hey guys, what are you all looking at? Oh my Mao, what the hell, shouted a stunned Rias who just came out of the house. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Hinata, who was accompanying Rias, just blinked. Well, you don't see that every day. So what's got everyone so worked up? The answer is simple. Spartans. Yeah, I said it, Spartans. Not the 300 kind of Spartans, no, more like the Meet the Spartans kind, if you have seen that movie. The whole yard was filled with these 300 guys wearing literal underwear, not what those Spartans wore. And they were doing really weird stuff. You could see some of them applying an unholy amount of baby on their bodies in slow motion with sparkles and radiant light shining in the background, making them look like wannabe pretty boys. These guys were doing this in front of Graphia, which explains why she wanted to murder something. The others, the chubby ones, were painting six-pack abs on their packless, or rather one-pack abdomen, then they would go on to model in front of Kaneko and the others. Others were doing some disturbing stuff I don't even want to talk about lest I buff. Then there was King Leonidas. Honestly, they didn't know what to think. If he is the leader of these weirdos, then he is going to be the worst of them. Said man, seeing Rias and Hinata, started to slowly and coolly, in his head anyway, stride over to them. Well, that was until he tripped and planted his face into the ground, hard. Quickly composing himself while spitting out a few strands of grass, he continued towards Rias and Hinata, who only sweet dropped. Good morning, my queens. I have assembled 300 of the finest Sparta has to offer. These men are loyal and will fight for you to the death, Leonidas declared. The army soon erupted into the famous Spartan war cry, but while doing that, some of the soldiers accidentally started to clobber each other before a fight erupted, conjuring a literal cartoonish dust cloud. You could see heads, hands and feet flying around. Seriously, this was the best Sparta has to offer. That place is doomed. Can I kill them? Kaneko asked, and Schwalen agreed with her. Seriously, this was annoying, especially when some of those guys were trying to look up their skirt. You can try, but they will come back again. I tried, but they just disappear into smoke then come back, Graphia said as she remembered the time she annihilated them all when they first came, only for them to come back again and again and again. Hinata just sighed. Hello Naruto-kun, I see you are having fun, Hinata said, looking at Leonidas. She was honestly fooled for a minute, but Graphia gave her the tip she needed. The others looked at her like she was crazy. Hinata-san, I know Naruto can use transformation, but he is just one man, Akino said before she remembered something. Well, unless he got his chakra back. Leonidas started to laugh awkwardly while rubbing the back of his head before transforming back to being Naruto. Hee, hey girls, how is it hanging? I had you going there, didn't I? Naruto-kun, when did you get your chakra back? Rias said in an all too sweet voice. The aura of doom was not making things easy for Naruto. A few days ago, I guess, after meeting Yoruichi, he replied. And who is Yoruichi, plus why didn't you tell us? Rias asked again, the aura of doom increasing. This really wasn't good for Naruto, who was now sweating profusely. Is there a way out of this? Yes, there is. He discreetly signaled his clones, to which they moved to surround the girls, 6 per girl, while taking off their shirts showing their well-toned bodies. The girls blushed except for one. I wanted to surprise you girls. No, he is just bullshitting his way out of this situation. He hasn't accepted the harem thing. Now you have more of me to play with, the Narutos said in a husky voice, making the girls blush further. It worked well somewhat, as most of the girls were reduced to stuttering messes. However, boss, help us. The clones that were with Akino were suddenly tied up by a rope before they were dragged by a sadistic Akino back to her cave of perverseness. Poor clones. Oh come on Gray-chan, that's the 5th batch you destroyed, Naruto shouted after received the painful memories of the clone that were destroyed by Graphia. Said woman just huffed and went back to work, leaving Naruto to explain everything. But one thing was certain, Naruto was watching too many movies and anime. What next? He is gonna turn into Escanor. Oh boy, I think I jinxed it. A few minutes later, to make it up to the girls, Naruto promised to show them a fun training method his sensei Kyuubi. He never told them, they just assumed his sensei was human used. And what better way than to use some willing volunteers that so graciously arrived. To be honest, he didn't have a training plan for those two today, but thanks to his screw up he was forced to come up with one to entertain the girls. Okay guys, this is what we will do today. I am going to use a very special training method my sensei used to make me strong, Naruto said. This got the two boys excited. Whatever that method was, it was pretty special since it was personal. So take off your shirts and rub this on, Naruto said, handing them 2 bottles. The 2 boys looked skeptical. Dude, this is honey, Issei said. Yes it is, and it has special properties that a lot of beings don't know about, Naruto said as he started adjusting their gravity seals. The 2 boys reluctantly complied. They rubbed the honey on their bodies. They were blindfolded. After that, Naruto unsealed 2 things that got the girls to quickly get away from him. So what are the special properties that make honey so special for training? And what is that buzzing sound? Issei asked, having heard the buzzing sound. Oh, it just attracts bees, that's all, Naruto said nonchalantly as he threw the beehives to the ground, breaking them. The 2 boys panicked as they quickly took off their blindfolds only to come face to face with an army of angry bee. You son of a ouch, Kiba cried. They tried to run away, but suddenly there was an increased weight that sat on them as their seals increased the amount of gravity. So the bees had one hell of a party with the poor boys. Ouch, they are in my pants. Not the face please, ouch, not my pretty face, ouch. Now that was fun. But did your sensei really put you through this and you fell for it? Rias asked. Having known how clever Naruto was, he wouldn't have fallen for this stupid trick. Naruto just blushed and looked away. Once upon a time Naruto was not that bright. And this is so entertaining, Hinata said, getting a nod from the girls. Graphia, who was looking out of the window, just gave a small smile as she watched the show. While those 2 were running away, Naruto was having a conversation with his partner. So Naruto, have you ever considered increasing your chakra even further? Zirconis asked. What do you mean by that? The various training seals I have placed on my chakra system are doing the job while I train, Naruto replied, being confused by his partner's question. What I mean is using the same method you have been using to increase your demonic power. You see, when I said I can convert panties to power, I may have made a mistake. I meant to say was I can convert it to any power the owner uses. For example, demonic power, because you consume devil panties. You get where I am going with this, right? Zirconis said with a sly tone. Naruto's eyes widened at the implications. He could basically possess any power he wanted from all species. This is so good. Now where to get chakra panties? Looking around, he spotted Kaneko, who was busy munching on her cookies. His eyes shone with mischief. Think of Kenichi's masters when they are planning something, as he crept upon the unsuspecting victim. When he got to her, he slowly lifted her short shirt and took a huge whiff of her panties. Oh yeah, that's some high-grade chakra panties right there. Kaneko was startled by Naruto's actions. She jumped away and landed a few feet from a grinning Naruto while she tried to pull her skirt down to make it longer, at which she failed miserably. Them skirts are too short. She hissed like a cat as her ears and tail popped out from where they were tucked. But she didn't notice anything. What are you doing, pervert? She asked in a shaky tone. I need them Neko chakra panties, Naruto said as he began to drool at the prospect of eating them rich Neko chakra panties. No, Kaneko flat out refused. But it's for a good cause, Naruto pleaded. No. Then you leave me no choice, give me those panties, Naruto said as he started to chase Kaneko. Nyaaaaa, Kaneko uncharacteristically screamed, and that cute scream further motivated Naruto. It was really cute. They started running around the mansion with the others not doing anything about it. Is she going to be okay? Revel asked as she served the others tea. Oh, don't worry, she will be fine. In fact, it's good that she is showing more emotion, Rias said. But what's this about chakra panties? Far off into the distance, a pair of golden eyes observed what was going on in the mansion. They looked at the scene with a hint of curiosity and amusement. Looks like she is in good hands. Later we find a tired and flushed Kaneko standing beside the others. She couldn't look at Naruto in the face. The situation didn't end with him stealing her panties. He first aroused her, then stole her drenched panties and ate them in front of her. Then he had the audacity to say that she, not her panties, tasted mighty fine. Naruto on the other hand was on the ground, a few bruises on his face. Okay, maybe he should have waited before tackling the mountain that was Graphia. After his conquest he tried to steal Graphia's panties. He failed epically. Before he even activated his technique he was already on the ground with the maid standing above him. How does she know what he was going to do? This happened every time he tried to steal her panties, whether they be among the laundry drawers or on her person, she always found out. But wasn't about to give up. This was a challenge he will complete on matter what. He was also very happy that what Zirconis said worked and he could unlock a few abilities too. Maybe a few visits to Kaneko and Hinata would do him good, he. So the team was preparing to go to the familiar forest. Rias Peerage was to enter while the others stayed. Issei was outright making fun of the beatdown Naruto had with Kiba, throwing in a few snide remarks. Hey, they had to take every chance they can get to have their revenge for the bees. Those damn things got into places that no bee should have gone. Familiar forest. Okay, let's skip the boring introductions with the familiar master who was a pervert wannabe, shall we? Naruto said that he would go off on his own while the others helped Asia. The familiar master wanted to argue but Naruto immediately shot him down. So here we are 2 hours later where we find Naruto running like a maniac through the forest and an almost naked woman hot on his heels. Okay, we fast forwarded way too far, let's go back a bit. Naruto was going through the forest wondering how he was going to find a familiar. There were so many to choose from. He had passed by a few of them that were curious and others that were hostile, but they weren't a problem for him. Maybe he could just summoning that could work. That's how he got his fox contract after all. After aimlessly wondering for a few minutes he grew impatient and he decided to try summoning. He wondered if it would work in this world. And if it did, what creature would be summoned. In his world, because of Kurama, he got the fox contract. So maybe he could summon a dragon that would be so cool. Well, not if the dragon eats you, Zirconis said. Way to ruin the mood, man, Naruto said as he ran through the summoning hand seals. He then let loose a moderate burst of chakra to make sure if it worked he could summon something of decent size. His eye widened when he felt more of his chakra being consumed. What the hell? There was a large puff of smoke and Naruto waited in great anticipation, looking up. The smoke cleared and Naruto, looking up, couldn't see anything. The amount of chakra he used and the smoke signified that he was summoning something huge, but alas, there was nothing. Well, that was until he heard a cough to get his attention. When he looked, he rocketed back with a huge nosebleed. There, standing in front of him, was a very beautiful woman. A very beautiful naked woman. She looked like she was taking a bath with how wet she was, and also the bath towel explained things. Well, crap, he was going to get another beat down. Excuse me, young man, but can you explain to me how I got here? The woman asked patiently, although he did pick a hint of annoyance in her tone. And the fact that she didn't bother to cover herself meant that he was not going to be alive to fantasize about her gorgeous body. Double crap. Well, you see, I summoned you. The thing is, Naruto then went on to explain everything carefully so that she could understand. The woman just nodded at his explanation, looking, seeing as she was indeed a few kilometers from her den. Naruto, on the other hand, was taking in all he could about this woman, memorizing her curves and stuff. Zirconis, on the other hand, was panicking. Shit, this isn't good. Naruto, get out of here or she will kill me, I mean you, Zirconis said through the mental link. No need to alert the damn woman to his presence. She will definitely murder the both of them. Looks like his past was coming back to bite him in the ass. Why, she looks cool enough for now. And what the hell did you do to her? Naruto asked, confused. Do you have any idea who she is? She is bad news. Of all the dragons you could have summoned, why her? Zirconis continued to rant through their mental link, but Naruto tuned him out as he digested what he said. Her a dragon? She looks human. Looking at her, their eyes met and Naruto could see that her eyes were reptilian. Okay, so maybe she shape-shifted. But for an overgrown lizard she sure is hot, he. Too bad she isn't wearing any panties. Blood starts to lick from his nose again. The woman just sighed. Hormonal teenagers. She snapped her fingers and clothes materialized on her body. Okay kid, allow me to introduce myself, I am Tiamat, one of the 5 Dragon Kings. She expected him to cower in fear after he heard her name, but to her surprise he just blinked. Dragon King, no way, more like Dragon Babe if you ask me. You are freaking hot. And I am Naruto Uzumaki, by the way, said Naruto said with one of his disarming smiles. Tiamat just blinked. Dragon Babe, huh? That's new. Most of the people would have run away by now or just died before she killed them. This one was different, but she had one question before she unalived him. Why do you smell like that pathetic waste of paste, Zirconis? She asked coldly. Damn, that's harsh, man. Not a big fan of yours, partner. Well, I am his host, if you will. He is a good guy, Naruto said as he started to sweat when the woman started to release an incredible amount of oppressive aura. Yeah, Naruto was definitely dead. Then I am sorry, but I am going to have to kill you, she said as she prepared to attack. Man, fighting this lady would be a problem. They will level the entire forest and there were some cute species he wanted to keep around. Wait, hold on. How about this? We hold a contest, right? If you win I will be your servant forever. And if I win then you will be my familiar. How does that sound? Naruto asked as he tried to calm down the angry woman. What did Zirconis do to her? Tiamat thought for a minute. Well, it would be amusing to see what the lowly devil could do. After all, she was around for a very long time. Author dodges a fireball. Okay, you are young, so please don't kill me. So she knew every game there was, so there was no way this devil could beat her. Okay, thanks for your understanding. The game is simple. Each of us will take turns to try and arouse the other from where we are no closing the distance. The one who arouses the other the most wins. Each person gets 5 minutes per session. By the way, are you wearing panties under there? Naruto stated. He was very confident in his ability to withstand her seduction despite being a pervert. He also knew that she was underestimating him. Oh, this is going to be very interesting. Make her your pet partner, Zirconis said through the mental link. She was going to be party in his partner's hands. Tiamat on the other hand just blinked. Are teenagers these days really that horny to suggest such a thing when they were in a life and death situation? Oh, he is Zirconis's host, never mind. This will be over quickly. Very well, and yes, I am wearing panties, she said. Naruto grinning and did a victory dance in his head. He hit the mother lode, the jackpot. His new dream was taking its first step into its fulfillment. He will have to make a list of targets later on. Tiamat started to do some sexy dances while slowly taking off her top. She was sure that if she showed some skin he would react like he did when she showed up. She then started touching herself, making her even more sexy. Her sexiness combined with her cold, uncaring demeanor made her even hotter. She looked at Naruto and her eyes almost bugged out when she saw him folding his hands looking at her with a poker face. With Naruto he was wearing a poker face on the outside, but on the inside he was having an internal battle. Down Excalibur, down boy. Don't disobey your master. Shit, she is so freaking sexy. What the hell was I thinking? Okay, think of things that can kill your libido. Okay, we have bugs, yes, lots of bugs. Poop and poop making out. We have Ichiya making out with Ivankov. Okay, I think I just permanently killed my libido. Through all this Zirconis was laughing his ass off. First, Tiamat was humiliating herself. Secondly, his partner's inner struggle with Excalibur was very entertaining. But he did have to go and puke after picturing Ichiya and Ivankov making out. Okay, now I am going to puke too. 5 minutes later and Tiamat was stunned. This boy sure has an iron will. He braved through her seduction like a pro even though she wasn't going all out. Big mistake. All she managed to get from him was a freaking mild blush. Okay, next time, if there is a next time, she will step up her game because this was insulting. Naruto took the time to compose himself by taking a few deep breaths. Okay, my turn, Naruto said with a smirk. Tiamat was confident that she could handle anything the boy throws at her. Nothing affects her anymore. She even stopped herself from going into heat a very long time ago, and that's saying something. Long-range molesting. She wasn't prepared to feel her breasts being massages by an unseen force. She could see them jiggling like someone was playing with them. She looked to see the boy smirk at her with both of his missing the palms. She had thought that he would stripe or talk dirty to try and seduce her, but she was wrong. He had this weird technique to touch her from afar. But she could handle this. Wrong. Naruto began to make thrusting motions with his hands and Tiamat felt something like a finger slip in between her folds in her lower lips. Oh crap. She let loose a small moan before she controlled herself. She wasn't going to lose, she was strong. Touch of the arrow god. She didn't last 5 seconds after the announcement. She just exploded with ecstasy, drenching her panties with her fluids. Naruto wasn't finished, he still had 4 more minutes left. So for the next 4 minutes Tiamat was subjected to the best pleasures she had ever felt. When the time was up we find a panting Tiamat kneeling on the ground, sweat pouring throughout her body. Her panties and bra had at some point gone missing, more like stolen. She wanted more and she was going to have more. Zirconis couldn't be any more prouder of his host. He did something that even he failed to do. Oh, this calls for some celebration. Wait, this scent, what is this? Tiamat closed the distance faster than Naruto could react and then captured his lips. What followed was one heck of a makeout session. Naruto for the life of him didn't know what happened. He wanted to push her away but he couldn't. All of his senses were telling him to mount this woman until she couldn't move. Snap out of it, you idiot, Zirconis shouted, making Naruto blink before he pushed the woman a bit away to create some space. What the heck happened? Naruto asked, confused as to why he was like this. You triggered her heat, that's what happened. She hasn't been in heat for a very long time. Now all that time is catching up to her, all those repressed feelings are coming at her in waves. Worse, because you have me, you are also in heat. You have to get out of here now, Zirconis shouted at his partner. He should have seen this coming. He was so careless. Tiamat pounced at Naruto again, but this time with more force that cracked the ground. Ouch, that was painful. She started to rip off his clothes, which was the quickest way to get him naked. Oh, she wanted it so bad. He started it, now he has to finish it. Naruto used more strength to push her away. Then he did the most sensible thing he could think of. He ran. Shit, this isn't good. Hinata is going to kill me. And she is coming after me. Naruto shouted as he ran for his dear pants. Just keep running. If she catches you, you will be here for a week going at it, or at most a month if you survive that long. Zirconis shouted. A month? Oh hell no, Naruto shouted as he increased his speed. He could feel her ki increasing as she got frustrated. Oh crap. Seeing his friends all assembled, he quickly turned towards them. Run, let's get out of here. Naruto ran with panic in his eyes as a huge amount of ki flooded the forest. He honestly didn't think the lady would be this powerful and damn crazy. Looks like he bit more than he can chew, he. He could fight her, but that would ruin the forest. Oh, who was he kidding? She is scary as hell. Who did you piss of this time? Rias shouted, shaken by the ki. Naruto just pointed behind him and everyone's eyes widened. Behind Naruto, hot on his heels, was a very pissed off and blushing semi-naked Tiamat. Get back here and finish the job. Quickly making a teleportation seal, all of Rias' peerage disappeared just as Tiamat reached them. She huffed in annoyance, then she also disappeared, leaving a very perplexed familiar master. Arriving at his home, he quickly assembled everyone and then explained what happened. Everyone just face-palmed. Ya give it to Naruto to create a situation like this. Graphia wanted to laugh, but she was also intrigued as to just how powerful his technique was to make even Tiamat go nuts. Looking for the boy, she blinked as he found him gone. Where is he? Everyone froze as they heard a cold, chilling voice behind them. Turning around, they saw Tiamat in the room. She followed us. Graphia got ready to fight while the others cowered behind her. She was the only one remotely capable of taking her on. Schwalen and Revel were quaking in fear as they thought that their home was going to be destroyed less than a month after her arrival. Era, he is right here, Hinata said as she fished Naruto from the wall he melded with. She then threw his at Tiamat, who quickly subdued him. Hinata, why? Naruto asked, shocked. Well, this is your fault after all, so you fix it. Plus she is likely not going to stop until she gets what she wants. Also, you can survive with your legendary stamina. Plus if we fight right now, I don't think our house and the town will survive. Finally, this is the next step to Operation Make Naruto Harem King, Hinata said as she gave him an evil smirk. Oh, it seems her plan just got a little bit of help. Just make sure you don't break him, okay? Otherwise I will come for you, Hinata said as she released her own impressive ki. Tiamat gulped. What a scary girl. Thank you for your understanding, I will bring him after a week. Tiamat bowed as she prepared to teleport away. What a week. Guys, please help me, he looked at his friends with pleading eyes. What he got shocked him. Let's go play chess, Akano. Make sure to break his legs so he doesn't run away. I am behind with my chores. Lucky bastard. Tiamat looked at Issei with narrowed eyes before she just shrugged. That other idiot can wait. Right now mama needs some action. With that she teleported away with a screaming and begging Naruto. It will be about 3 days before Naruto is seen again. Graphia stood at the door with a puzzled look on her face as she stood face to face with someone she thought she would never see after a week or so, but here he was 3 days later. He stood at the door trying to put on a blank face, but he had this glow about him that said, "I got laid big time." This perplexed her to no end. Why was he here this early? Did he escape that dragon, or did she get bored with him and let him go? "Oi, Grey Chant dodges an ice dagger, are you going to let me in?" Naruto said with his hands in his pocket. He was doing his best to not have a stupid grin on his face. Those were some heck of some 3 days with that dragon lady. The things she did to him, oh man. Graphia on the other hand was popping a vein. "Stop calling me that," she shouted before she composed herself and let him in. She followed him to the living room where the girls were assembled. Having a wicked idea in his head, Naruto did a smokeless transformation. Graphia just blinked as she saw what he did. Oh boy, he is going to get his revenge with that face on. The girls were seating in a circle drinking some tea and biscuits with Rias facing the direction Naruto was coming from. She saw someone coming into the room. At first she ignored the person thinking it was Graphia, but that person was way too short and big-headed to be her. Wait, what? She got a good look at the person, then she blinked again to make sure she wasn't seeing things. She then looked at the biscuits and tea she was drinking. Whatever the hell Graphia put into the tea or biscuits was powerful for her to be seeing things. Okay, just ignore what you are seeing and it will go away. She took another sip. Wink. She immediately spit the tea out after witnessing one of the grossest winks she had ever seen. Tea was officially ruined. The others turned to see a horrifying sight, the real stuff of nightmares that nobody wants to see. All of them spit out the tea that they were drinking. Those that weren't made sure to drink some so that they could also spit it out. Before them was Ivankov in all her ugliness doing what was supposed to be sexy poses, but that face and that body just ruined everything. The way she smiled at them and sending kisses sent shivers down their spines. That was so disturbing. "Please let me kill that thing," Akino said as lighting started to spark around her form. Before an answer could come, the ugly thing did something that knocked everyone facing her. "Death wink," Ivankov shouted as she did another pose before winking at them. The reaction was instantaneous. All of the girls were blown back with blood coming from their mouths. If hot boys cause nosebleeds, then Ivankov's ugliness caused bleeding from the mouth. Naruto, seeing their reactions, couldn't take it anymore. He dispelled the transformation before he started laughing. He expected some weird reactions, but never in his wildest dreams did he expect to cause mouth bleeding. If only he had prepared a camera beforehand, this would have made a nice clip in his prank files. "That wasn't very nice, Naruto-kun. And why are you back so early? I figured you two would be going at it for a while now," Hinata said as she was the one who was the first to recover. She thought she had seen it all in the shinobi world and in the soul society, but that face took the cake. Such ugliness should be obliterated from existence. Serves you right for the stunt you pulled. "Now that wasn't very nice," Naruto said as he tried to be serious. "If it wasn't very nice, then why are you glowing and trying your best not to grin like a madman?" Hinata said with a knowing smirk. Naruto could only blush at being caught red-handed. "And you didn't answer the question," Hinata asked. "How did you escape from Tiamat, and now recovered?" Rias asked. "Oh, well, I walked out since she is out of commission at the moment," Naruto said with a faraway look as he recalled the things that he and the dragon lady did. "What did you do to her? Did you knock her out?" "You could say that. I mean, I did bang her until she was unconscious, he, Naruto said with a pervy grin. The others could only look at him with red faces and disbelieving looks. How can he say that with a straight face? That's impossible. It's you who should be out of commission. That woman would have left you broken and dry, said a disbelieving Graphia. She knew about dragons and their mating habits. She also knew that the only ones to satisfy female dragons were male dragons only, since those guys can go at it for a while when they are in heat. For Naruto to claim such a feat was like saying the moon outshined the sun. Well, it is impossible for anyone but not me. I mean, just combine my stamina plus clones and voila, you have one satisfied dragon lady, Naruto said, not realizing that he shouldn't have said that to the girls. So you basically gang banged her, right? Plus she wouldn't stand a chance against the mighty Excalibur, Hinata commented, making her sales pitch to the girls. Now all, and when I say all I mean all, including the stoic Graphia, were blushing like crazy. They were imagining a bunch of Narutos taking turns to have their way with Tiamat, who at some point was replaced by them. Sometimes girls have wild imaginations, I don't know if that's a thing. Hey, Excalibur as in the sword. Akano asked with a blush on her face as she imagined doing all kinds of things S&M definitely with an army of naked Narutos. You could say it's a sword, he, Hinata said as she with a pervy giggle. Oh, this is so good. Soon these girls will be making their move on Naruto and will be powerless to resist. Now time to plan more ways to encourage the girls to sink their teeth into him. Naruto took this as his cue to leave these girls in La La Land. He went to his room, then took out a pair of panties, then sniffed them. The aroma was so potent on this one. Who knew he ran into an I don't know years-old dragon virgin? He really hit the jackpot this time. Putting the panties in his pocket dimension for future consumption, he grinned. This is good, one down, plenty more to go. This is the first step into my collection of ultimate panties. Now Graphia dear you are. Next foo. Naruto laughed evilly with lightning flashing across the room. Meanwhile still in the living room, Graphia was knocked out of her daydream by a shiver that ran down her spine. She had a gut feeling that something was going to happen that would rock her world. Next day. Most of the mornings Graphia usually wakes up early to do her job. She never wanted to stay in bed as it felt lonely. It reminded her so much of the broken promises that she suffered through. Waking up early and doing her job and then only ending late at night was the only way to take her mind off the painful memories. She was running herself rugged and she knew it. However, this morning was different. This morning she actually wanted to stay in bed. It was weird, but who was she to complain? It all started with the images that Hinata girl cultivated in her head about having sex with her boyfriend. Actually it started when Naruto almost took her panties, which she protected, but it ended with him briefly touching her with that technique of his. Of course she braved it so as not to show him weakness. But after that she went and took a bath. A very long bath. After that things went downhill from there as she started having weird dreams about her and Naruto. Worse, there was the Tiamat incident where Hinata was insinuating that Naruto was a beast in the sack. This all contributed to the very pleasant morning she was having right now, dreaming about a certain someone. The dream felt so real too. She could only squirm about in her bed as waves of pleasure pulsed throughout her body. She didn't know that she was making noises which were heard by the residents of the mansion. Oh man, she didn't want to wake up from this dream. Her hand moved towards her nether region, her legs spread wide open, intending on massaging it to further stimulate herself. She was met with what felt like a mop of hair. That's weird. She moved her hands around the hair which seemed to be attached to a head. Wait, what? Her eyes shot wide open as she felt that someone was in her bed with his or her head between Graphia's legs. How did someone get into her room without her noticing? Quickly she threw the covers away to find a sight that she hoped she would never see. That's debatable. Outside, a few of the residents were assembled outside Graphia's room. They were all concerned about the sounds that they were hearing from her room. There was no male other than Naruto that came last night. Plus the only other males that usually came were Kiba and Issei. Also she didn't bring anyone here either, so it was either she was going at it with Naruto or she was doing some self-servicing. So the girls all nodded to each other as they opened the door to see a very interesting sight. It was also the same time that Graphia threw the covers off. Her eyes popped wide open as she saw what was going on. Her eyes widened further when she noticed she had an audience who too were frozen in shock. There between Graphia's amazing legs was Naruto, who was busy eating her pantyless sacred place like there was no tomorrow. The sheets were drenched with Graphia's juices resulting from Naruto's ministration. For the first time in her life Graphia blushed like a school's girl and was at a loss for words. As if the universe was playing some sick joke, Naruto mumbles, "Tasty," in a Candy Crush voice, making Graphia blush even further as well as the girls enjoying the show. Said boy the rose his head showing his sleepy face. He then got up and stretched as he looked around to find that he was not on his room. He looked at the door to see a bunch of blushing girls looking at him for some odd reason. What the heck was going on and whose room was this anyway? Looking down he was met with Graphia, her legs spread wide open, giving him a good view of her heavenly place. He immediately blushed a storm as he tried his best not to look, but the image was already saved in his hand. Worse, Excalibur was trying to disobey him again. But damn, that was quite a view. So that's what she was hiding under that maid dress of hers, Naruto thought. But what the heck am I doing here and how did I get here for Pete's sake? Okay, now that's a view a guy would like to wake up to. But do any of you know how this happened? Cause I really would like the details, Naruto said in a nervous voice. Graphia did something that shocked all who knew her. For the first time in her life she screamed, like an actual girl. Please note this was the only way she could react since well her stoic mask wouldn't do shit. Ayah, she started to throw staff at Naruto that to this day he is still wondering where that staff came from. It started with the smaller staff like cups, then plates, then dishes. At some point it graduated to kitchen sinks and bathtubs, which nailed Naruto in the head. The poor lucky boy had to hightail out of the room with a few lumps on his face. Poor Graphia was left subjected to various kinds of stirs, but the worst being from Hinata. The girl was wearing a mischievous grin on her face like one of her crazy plans just worked. Come to think of it, oh damn, that girl is so devious. Almost there, he just a little push, Hinata thought. But her thoughts were projected outside by a dark aura that surrounded her as she cackled like a madman. Graphia just buried herself in her covers, but the smell of her arousal was driving her nuts. Maybe one of those very long baths would do her some good. Yeah, a very long bath. With Naruto we find the boy hauled up in his room, blocking the door with various objects. No need for that crazy woman to badge in and turn him into a popsicle. Once done, he had to review what had happened this morning. First, he didn't wake up in his bed, meaning he was sleepwalking again. Second, and most importantly, he ate freaking Graphia's cherry. Awesome. He could still taste her and he liked how she tasted. Thirdly, you scored number 2 in 1 week, Zirconis chimed in. Oh, there is his resident voice of depravity, haven't heard from him in a while. And what did he mean by number 2? Feeling something in his pocket, he fished out something he thought was unattainable. Graphia's freaking panties. Lucky he didn't eat them in his sleep. Maybe he unconsciously thought of his dream, hence why the panties are still around. The whole house shook as Naruto shouted at the top of his lungs. Yes, finally. I got them, ultimate panties number 2. Icy flavor, mawahahaha. Soon with the power of the ultimate panties I will be unstoppable, Naruto shouted while standing on top of the house while twirling the panties in the air like Kazuma. Everyone just sweat dropped while Graphia sank in the tube to hide her embarrassment. It's going to be a while before she could look at Naruto again. Later that day, what the hell? Revel had seen many things and creatures in her life. Some were cute and some were downright scary. But they all shared one thing in common. They all had habitats they stayed in. So what the hell was this creature doing inside the house? Revel had decided to start doing the housework since Graphia was incapacitated after this morning's fiasco. She cleaned the house and was heading to the fridge to get some fruit when she came upon an interesting sight. Appa, she came face to face with a behemoth of a man, dark-skinned and blue hair. Said behemoth looked at her with a happy, confused face. He wasn't threatening in the least, but his stature was very intimidating. Appa Apachai was just getting some drinks before he goes on to train his students. Appa, and away, said the now dubbed Apachai as he sprinted outside in the blink of an eye, leaving a very confused Revel. This house is going to drive me nuts, she said before she was grabbed from behind and ended up in the yard with the others. Looking at everyone, she could see most held annoyed looks while others like Schwalen were confused. They boys on the other hand held a look of fear. Okay, today Apachai sensei is taking over training. Firstly girls, you go and do some physical exercises to strengthen those muscles of yours. Secondly guys, I am going to teach you a new fighting style, no weapons Appa, Apachai said in a cheerful disarming manner. Can we stay and watch? Akino asked in her own cute way. She knew this was Naruto transformed and she knew he liked that anime where he got the character from. But what she knew was once Naruto transforms he has something in mind to liven things up. The others girls decided to stick around too and see this new fighting style. Sensei Apachai turned to his victims, I mean soon to be corpses, I mean soon to be dead students, so you get the point. Said boys were prepared for whatever was to come. No tricks this time, no honey and no bees. Too bad they didn't see the anime, otherwise they would have ran for their lives. Today I am going to teach you Muay Thai boxing. Muay Thai is the art of bare hand man killing. It will help you to kill your way out of any fight, Apachai introduced, getting sweat drops from everyone. Dude, we just want to learn hand to hand, not how to murder anything that moves, Issei said with a huge sweat drop. You will think about complicated stuff like that after your opponent is dead. Use your thinking for killing or it will get you killed, Apachai said, trying to impersonate a Chinese master. This is a really bad idea, was that general thought that ran across everyone's mind. So Apachai introduced the boys to the use of the basic stance of Muay Thai boxing called the Tengdadmai, hope I got this right, which centered on the use of elbows and knees. Muay Thai is a very delicate fighting style. If you use it right you can kill your opponent. If you use it wrong you can kill your opponent. Now training is over, it's time to spar Appa. Apachai said before he started to randomly destroy training dummies that were in the training ground. This really scared the scrape out of the two boys. Kiba, I think we should run before he kills us, Issei said as he slowly backed away. Kiba just nodded as he too backed away, but they ran into a brick wall that was Apachai, who just magically teleported around them. Shit. Where are you guys going? Let's spar to the death, Appa. Hell no. Help us. Training brats is sure as fun. You know Naruto didn't expect to be enjoying himself this much. He didn't expect his life in a new world to be this much fun. He had made friends who he held very close to his heart, like a special few in the elemental nations. He could honestly say that when it comes down to it he would offer up his life for theirs. These were his precious people now. He enjoyed everything about his life now. Sure, there were many dangers out there lurking waiting to be unleashed, and he had a feeling that he would be in so many adventures. But despite that he really liked being here. Even his new partner and his Pervinus were fun. Zirconis was someone he really needed after the loss of his friends the bijuu. He reminded him of that pervy Neko Matabi. And stealing and eating panties was becoming fun too. One thing that came to him unexpectedly, which he now noticed about his previous life, was how much popular he was with girls and how dense he was. If he wanted a harem in his world he would have had it. I mean, there was Hinata, she and Koyuki, Sasama and Shizuka. He really was stupid when he tried to be popular and cool in front of girls at the academy. Be yourself and you will find that special someone. That was what his sister, the one who took care of him, told him, and it was true. His real character did attract someone special and he was glad. And now here he was being surrounded by girls again who he was pretty sure had feeling for him. It was all thanks to his character and that perverted Hinata. Honestly, she keeps this up, that dragon lady won't be his only concern. He had noticed the changes in the girls. They were making not so subtle advances towards him. When he spared with Kaneko and Shueilin they weren't that much afraid to flash him their panties. He, accidentally, walked in on Rias and Akano bathing, getting a very good view. Ravel was doing her best to get to him through her cooking. Graphia for now was making herself scarce, but she was planning something. The only one he was concerned was Asia. He had lived with the girl and she was attached to him. So he figured she felt so insecure about the competition she was receiving from the other girls. She had her own charms which she didn't know about. He liked her as well as all the girls. Crap, the harem thing was getting in his blood. You already have a harem of 2 at the moment, you know that, right? Zirconis chimed in. Oh, shut up you. I am not that crazy to want that many girls. Naruto shouted at his partner. It was like Zirconis and Hinata talked to each other behind his back to get him to agree with the harem thing. Anyway, back to the Asia thing, he had to talk to her soon before it's too late. And sort out his feelings for the while he was at it. What he didn't know was someone had other ideas and soon he would have a massive harem. Hinata was fascinated by Asia the moment she saw her. Asia was like a previous version of her. So shy, so innocent, so cute. She lacked confidence, but it was part of her charm. Hinata had noticed how she had given up when she saw who she was competing with. Asia thought she didn't have the right stuff to make Naruto react to her like the other girls. Well, she was wrong. Time for a little Hinata creativity. Are you sure about this, Hinata? What if he doesn't like it? Said a shy and blushing Asia. Are you crazy? I know Naruto, he will love it. It will show you just how much of an effect you have on him, Hinata said as she pushed Asia down the hallway towards where Naruto was. She made sure that the other boys were out of the house. The other girls just watched in amusement as Asia came face to face with Naruto. Hi Naruto, Asia all but stuttered in embarrassment as started to act all shy, trying to look away. Oh, big mistake, because that was one hell of a killer move she pulled. Combined with what Hinata made aware, well, let's just say Naruto didn't stand a chance. Naruto stood there frozen in his place. The glass of juice he had in his hand had already hit the ground. What Naruto was seeing was something he never thought he would see. If Jiraiya ever saw this he would immediately die. Holy cow, I didn't know the girl had it in her. Dude, take her and bang her right now. Zirconis shouted at his partner but got no response. Oh boy, the dude had a meltdown already. There in the hallway stood Asia. She was cute in whatever she wore, but damn, this was too much, a killer combo indeed. She was wearing a black skimpy nun outfit that left little to the imagination, just think of any slutty nun outfit. And her innocence did more harm than good. An innocent nun in a skimpy outfit. That's one heck of a porn recipe. Poor boy just went blank before he was blown back by a nosebleed. Asia won Naruto -20. Yay, that's my girl. See, I told you that you will knock him out. Hinata praised Asia. Honestly, Yoroichi rubbed off on her more than she thought. Oh, the ideas she had for Naruto were just XXX rated to mention. Now one final move in Harem League for the win, hehehehe. The other girls couldn't believe it. Asia gave Naruto a nosebleed ko. The girl had moved far ahead of them. Well, time for them to catch up too. Poor Naruto, that week he was subjected to various cosplays that he almost died of blood loss. I mean, slutty witches, slutty princesses and skimpy maids were just too much for him. And Excalibur was reaching his breaking point. Soon he will slaughter all these girls. Next day after school we find Rias peerage meeting with Sonas for an important meeting. Things have been happening in their territory and they couldn't just ignore it. Plus it didn't help that they would be getting some visitors from the church. So here we are with both peerages seating on opposite side of each other. However, Sona and her queen were glaring at Naruto for some reason. He forgot. How convenient. Okay Sona, you are going to have to get over it. I mean, it's just a few panties. We on the other hand had to replace our entire stock twice this week, Rias said with a sigh. Naruto had been particularly very hungry for panties this week. Alright, but if he does anything I will kill him, Sona said as she put emphasis by leaking out her aura of doom. But all she got was Naruto looking at her with a very familiar glimmer in his eyes as he licked his lips. Sona just shivered. Moving on, we are expecting 2 exorcists from the church anytime this week from what my sister told me. Someone stole some Excalibur fragments and the church suspects they are hiding here. So we are going to have to assist them as a show of good faith. It's also a chance to make peace with the church, Sona said with Rias nodding. However, it also meant that they would have to be careful around them. Those exorcists were strong and coupled with their holy weapons they become trouble. If they tried anything they would have to defend themselves. So are they sending someone like, shitty priest? Naruto asked. If the church is full of nut jobs like him then he would have to stay. Sona just looked at Rias for an explanation. It's a stray exorcist we ran into when we met Asia. And don't worry, I don't think they will send someone like that in a delicate matter like this, Rias said, reassuring Naruto. Oh good, well in that case I bid your good luck. I am going to be gone for a while, so please make sure you be careful, okay? Now that surprised everyone. Where was he going anyway and why didn't he tell anyone? And where are you going? Rias asked. Oh, Sona-chan is going to hook me up with her sister. I want to visit the underworld forges and see if I can get some weapons made for you guys while I restock mine, Naruto answered. As he learnt from past experience, it's not good to rely on power alone. You need some weapons to help out and the girls needed some. Kiba was covered and Issei had Jade Dragon plus other than X-ray glasses. He had no idea which weapon suit Issei. Oh, that's it. Why did you tell me this sooner? And why would I hook you up with my sister? Sona also asked, folding her hands. If he thinks she is going to bend over and do whatever he tell her, well, he has another thing coming. 1. You are cute council president. And 2. It's not good for your reputation if people find out you walk around commando, Naruto said with a smirk as he twirled around a certain someone's panties. Sona's peerage was shocked when they saw their leader's panties in Naruto's hands. How the hell does he do that? Rias and her peerage just face-palmed. Sona on the other hand thought of an idea. How about a wager? If you beat me in a game of chess then I will hook you up with my sister. Deal? Oh, this was perfect. There is no way in hell Naruto can beat her in chess. Sona, I don't think that a good idea, Rias said, having played with Naruto a few times and lost badly. Plus she already knew what was at stake if Sona lost. Okay, if that's the case then if you lose then your peerage will give me their panties too, he. Naruto let out a perverted giggle. Sona, being so confident in herself, agreed. Well, Prez, your ass is mine, Naruto declared, getting a blush from Sona. That statement could be interpreted in so many different ways. But she does have a nice ass. 8 games later we find an almost catatonic Sona who lost all 8. Their female members of her peerage decided to make themselves scarce, but it was too late. Naruto was already counting his loot which he so graciously liberated after his second win. And what a haul it was, he. Told you it was a bad idea. All I can say now is welcome to the harem league, Rias said uncharacteristically as she enjoyed her friend's defeat. She did warn her after all. I can't believe I am going to marry this pervert, Sona mumbled incoherently as she tried to process what just happened. She used every trick she knew in the book, every strategy, but he just seemed to counter her easily. Era marry who now? Naruto asked, hoping he misheard her. You see, Sona made a vow that whoever beats her in a chess game will marry her. And since you did many times, might I add, you sealed your fate, Rias explained as she enjoyed seeing the color drain from both Naruto and Sona. What a sight indeed. What? Issei had always wanted to get back at Naruto for all the shit he put them through during training. He wanted to see Naruto lost that smug grin from his face. But damn it, someone beat him to it. And by mistake too. Not that he was complaining. It's not every day you get to see Naruto left speechless and pale white as a sheet. Which is why he was taking pictures for future use. Poor Naruto didn't know what to do. He is leaving with a bunch of girls. Hinata is a pervert who wants him to have a harem. He eat Graphia's deal in his sleep, banged a dragon lady for 3 days non-stop, and now he has unknowingly placed himself as a marriage candidate for Sona. What next? Bang her sister. Sona tried to compose herself, but she was reduced to a stuttering mess. So I will contact my sister and tell her to accompany you to the forges, she stuttered. Naruto was too shocked to answer her, so they had to take him home, which was a task assigned to Kaneko. The girl was all too happy to take Naruto home, by dragging him by the feet, making sure his head bumps on every object along the way. If Naruto had been in the right state of mind, he would have noticed the change that was happening in Kiba. But Sona's situation did cause something to stir inside the girls. The talk about marrying Naruto made the girls realize that they had to make their move, and fast. The next few days were going to be busy for Naruto. When they got home, they found Hinata waiting for them. In her mind, she was going to play the last card up her sleeve to send the girls over the edge. Her first move of screaming her guts out when they had her welcome back sex marathon was to get them all hot under their loins, he. The other moves were preparatory moves, and now she was going for the knockout punch. After this, she was going to have lots of harem sisters. First, she had to kick the other boys out, literally. Although she did frown when she noticed the mood the pretty boy was in. Me deal with that later. Now time to enact, get me some harem sisters plan into motion. As of now, after snapping Naruto out of his funk, she told him, alone, to use the large bathhouse. They would use it later. Naruto, being in a daze, didn't see the naughty grin appearing on her face, nor did he really stop to think what Hinata was actually planning. Next, she went and assembled all the other girls, even the guests. So in the room was Rias, Akeno, Asia, Kaneko, Shueilin, Revel and Graphia, although she didn't want to be there. Hinata had thought about getting the dragon lady here, but Tiama got some action and the other girls hadn't yet, plus she didn't know how to contact her. She heard that Naruto did a very good job, that Tiamat had taken to training her replacement so she could come and live with them. So girls, what do you say we all get a nice hot bath as girls? It will be fun and we will get to know each other better, Hinata suggested, trying to hide her intentions. Some of the girls agreed, but what are you planning? Rias asked, folding her arms. She knew Hinata was planning something. She may try to hide it, but her pervy grin was slipping back on from time to time. Oh, nothing much. Just a way for you girls to get ahead before other girls from outside get in on the action. At this, Rias froze as she contemplated what was happening. Sona was her rival, and now she had set her sights on Naruto after losing the chess games. Because Rias was very competitive in nature, she couldn't let her rival get ahead of her, so she agreed. Graphia just went on with it, wanting to see where things would end up. Plus, she also had to sort out her conflicting feelings. All the girls assembled in the bathhouse took off all their clothes, although some were shy while some felt inadequate when they saw the big boobs of others. Hinata decided to make things fun by starting to fondle the other girls. This caused a chain reaction. Some girls started running around away from the perv, some like Akeno joined in, and some fell victim to the pervs. This was the scene our poor protagonist stumbled upon. Naruto was almost naked with only a towel shielding Excalibur from being seen. He wasn't paying attention to his surroundings, so imagine to his surprise when he came upon Akeno pinning Schwalen to the ground and Hinata licking Revel. The bathhouse was full of naked women, no, not women but goddesses. Super hot and naked goddesses. There was Rias in all her glory, Akeno too, and cute Asia and Kaneko. His eyes were busy saving every second of this before Graphia goes batshit and beats the crap out of him. Holy shit, we hit the mother lode. Bang them. Bang them all, I command thee, Zirconis urged his partner, but again he got no response. Naruto was busy saving everything he can into his memory banks. However, someone long neglected wanted to come out and play, and he did. Just as Graphia was about to throw a fit again, she stopped. In fact, almost every girl froze except for Hinata, of course. Naruto's nether regions couldn't take it anymore. The constant bombardment was too much. This scene was the last stroll. Slowly Excalibur began to come out of his sheath. That mighty sword which slew Tiamat wanted to slay more victims again, and they were all in front of him. The towel, oh the poor towel, was doing a very piss job of containing that mighty sword. With one swing the towel fell from Naruto's waist, giving the girls a very good view of the might sword. The girls all froze as they saw the huge thing. It was about 13 inches long and 2 inches thick. They could see it twitching a few times and the angry veins with blood coursing through them throbbing. What a frightening and magnificent sight indeed. Truly that thing earned the title Excalibur, the Lady Slayer. The girls all took in the sight before them. From the handsome Naruto to his mighty sword, mostly his mighty sword. Others were having some thoughts, main one being, that thing is going to slit me in half, and even more XXX rated thoughts. If you heard the phrase it was a bloodbath, this would apply here, because it surely was a bloodbath. It started with Naruto, who was blown back with a mega nosebleed, followed by all the other girls. Graphia was no exception. She had been eyeballing that sword like a piece of meat, various scenarios running in her head. So in the end the only one left standing was Hinata, because she had seen it plenty of times, although this didn't stop her from having a nosebleed of her own. And thus to this day that event was known as the Excalibur Blood Bath, because the bathhouse was covered in blood. Lots of it. Last phase completed, now all that's left is for the girls to willingly fall upon the mighty sword. Sniff, Hinata said as she wiped some blood coming from her nose. Damn, you are one devious girl, do you know that, Zirconis said, very impressed by the girl's planning. He didn't foresee witnessing a bloodbath such as this one. I don't see you complaining, Hinata said as she made a few clones who helped her get everyone to their rooms. Their next few days were going to be fun, And fun they were, for Hinata at least. For others it was pleasure, the girls, and for Naruto, well, let's just say he was very busy. With his mighty sword Naruto conquered the residents of his mansion. The first to fall was Rias. The busty redhead ambushed Naruto the moment he woke up and was impelled by the sword in missionary and doggy style for 1 hour. The next to fall was Akeno, who after Rias was done being impelled, she goaded Naruto to try and outlast her. She didn't last 30 minutes as all her holes were impelled at the same time by 3 Excaliburs. The next to fall was Graphia, who tried to fight her urges but succumbed. She was impelled in every way possible for 5 hours and was left catatonic. The next to fall was Asia. The former nun showed Naruto a side of her that even surprised the author. After getting used to being impelled, she rode the mighty sword like a woman possessed and even offered to be impelled in her other lower hole. Schwalen was the next to fall. She was impelled in the training ground against the wall until she couldn't walk. In fact, she started walking properly 3 days later. The last 2 to fall were Kaneko and Revel. The kitty cat decided to play with the fox and ended up being impelled by his might sword in the shower. She meowed, literally. Revel was the last to fall after she tried to resist, but that mighty sword always popped up in her dreams. Well, that was until she woke up to see the fox eating her and then ended up impelling her with his mighty sword. And that concludes Excalibur's amazing conquest in the mansion, and now all the women of the mansion belong to Naruto. Oh, and did I mention that Naruto snapped after impelling Rias? Oh, he didn't care anymore, he made sure that he banged the girls so hard they only wanted him. So yeah, he now had a harem. Lucky bastard. Poor Issei, he cried himself to sleep for days after he found out what happened. His dream was gone. After that, Naruto went on several dates with the girls to get to know more about each other and establish an even deeper connection between them. So far the progress was, but he hasn't gotten to the point where he can say he loves them like he does to Hinata. He cares for them deeply that he was sure of it's only a matter of time, that's all. Naruto stepped out of the teleportation circle and looked around. He was greeted by the underworld's pride and joy, its capital Lilith. How he got here? Well, Sona called him to tell him that her sister had sent an attendant to escort him to the underworld. When he got to Sona's office, he saw a black-haired pretty boy with a Shikamaru-type hairstyle waiting for him with Sona. Sona explained that this was the attendant sent to escort him. Said attendant looked like he wanted to eat him, to spit him out by the look he was receiving behind Sona's back. Man, he only just met the guy and already the guy hates him. He hasn't even pranked him too. So Naruto just went along with the guy, but not before Sona warned him not to cause any trouble. She looked so cute when she stuttered, sending him off. She looked like a worried wife seeing her husband off. Naruto contemplated on kicking the pretty boy out so he could bend Sona on her table and bang her. Zirconis wasn't making things easier too by telling the various positions he and Sona could do it. So here he was in Lilith with a guy that probably wants to kill him, yay good luck with that, who was escorting him through the city to the center where the Mao's offices were. Okay, say it. What the hell have I done to you to warrant such hostility? Naruto asked the boy, not too concerned about the matter. The boy however stiffened at being called out. I don't know what you are talking about. He tried to cover up his intent, but Naruto could read his emotions like a book. He still had Kurama's empathy ability after all. Dude, I know you are lying. You are a really bad liar just like me, hehehe. Anyway, I have experience with people being hostile to me, so I can tell. So what did I do to you? Naruto asked. The guy, seeing that he was caught, decided to let everything out when they were in a secluded area. What is it that you have that I don't have? I am powerful, I am a full blood from a recognized family, and I have the looks to boot. So why is it that Lady Seraphol is so obsessed with you? She talks about you almost all the time. It started when she came back from that raiding game with Between Your Peerage and Razor Sama. She kept talking about how cool you were, and it is driving me crazy. Okay, he didn't see that coming. Why is she so obsessed with him? Maybe it was his technique. A lot of women did beat the shit out of their husband to make them try to convince him to teach them his technique after all. Or maybe it's his character, he didn't know, but what he knew was this kid liked Seraphol, but the feeling was not mutual from Seraphol's side. Okay dude, I really didn't know about that, but that's no reason to hate me. I mean, it happens, you know. It even happened to me back in the day when I was a kid too, so I know how you feel. Naruto really sympathized with the kid. He really didn't know what the heck happened, but the kid was heartbroken. Maybe a story from his side would help. Oh really, you know what it's like to have someone you like talk about someone else he is a god. It hurts a lot. And I didn't even tell her how I feel. Damn it, the boy ranted. So Naruto decided to tell him a little about his little phase where he was infatuated by Sakura, blah blah blah, you know the rest, canon crush. It's all made up. He made up the story, I mean it is just a story, it doesn't have to be real. He at first had a thing for Sakura but snapped out of it. This was a story of what would have happened if he pursued that course of action, the canon story of course, but our guy didn't really need to know that. As long as the story helps him out, that good enough. The boy listened attentively to the story. He really began to see that he and Naruto were alike. No, not really, he was better than him. He could have any girl he wanted, which wasn't Seraphol, of course. He was too blinded by his puppy dog love to not really notice the other girls around him. Well, he will abandon his stupid pursuit and look elsewhere. He turned around to thank Naruto, only find that he was alone. There was a Naruto shape of dotted lines where Naruto should be. The boy looked around but couldn't find him anywhere. Fuck, Seraphol was going to kill him. With Naruto patched on top of a building was a figure shrouded in darkness, watching the people, or devils if you will, of the city. The figure held an aura of mysteriousness around him. The wind blew, raffling his hair and flapping his black cape. Hey you moron, I don't have a cape. Okay, he didn't have a cape. This was Naruto in a Batman pose. Look at them, partner. Look at all those prisoners who await a hero to come and save them. Their wait is over because I am here. Soon you shall be free to take to the skies and soar through the air. And then I will eat you, hahaha. Naruto spoke in a Batman voice, but it degraded to a feat of perverted giggles. You just want to test out our new technique and have food at the same time, right? Asked, knowing very well what his partner was planning on doing. Naruto came to him with the idea after watching a very interesting anime. After several trials and errors they finally achieved what they were hoping for. They hadn't thoroughly tested it, but this was a good place to do a field test. Just one problem. You do know that once you do this the Mao will be after you, right? Don't worry man, they will be too busy dealing with the mess to deal with us. Now time to start the show. Naruto smirked as he cast his jutsu. Pervy style. Panty flock. Now my beauties fly to freedom, mawahahaha. Cue lightning flash in the background. On the streets below, the unsuspecting victims were busy doing whatever it was they were doing. Everything was peaceful, quiet and tranquil. Until something weird happened. There was a surge of magical power and all hell broke loose. That's ironic seeing as they were in the underworld. It started with one woman on the street who was minding her own business when suddenly in her pants something started flapping about, trying to escape. It sounded like wings of a bird, but that's just absurd, right? The woman tried to hold her pants together while wondering what was going on. That's when the thing got out. She got a good look at it and her eyes widened. It was her panties and they were flying like a bird. Challenge. Can anyone tell me from which anime I got this? The panties flapped in front of her for a while before they took off. Before she could even contemplate on what was going on, she heard multiple screams. Many women in the city were having trouble with their panties which were escaping from them. You could see panties of all shapes, sizes, colors and designs flying around, taking off into the air. What a nightmare for anyone who was a woman. As for the men, well, let's just say they were left blushing and frozen. I mean, who wouldn't when you find out all the women in the city are walking around commando? All that was left was a mysterious breeze to lift those damn skirts, hahaha. The city was full of panties which were flying in flocks. They were so many they outnumbered the flying creatures of the city. Most of the city residents were looking up, seeing the spectacle before them as they witnessed something never seen before. Flying panties. Oh, and they were flying in formations too. A woman with blonde hair was left speechless as her very naughty panties bought by her husband ran away from her. Her red-headed son, who was around 11, looked at her confused. The blonde-haired woman was lucky she was wearing a long regal dress of nobles, otherwise it would have been a disaster. She blushed as she grabbed her son and teleported out of there to find her husband, intending on telling him what happened. Yes, fly my pretties fly, mawahahaha. Naruto laughed like a maniac. That was until a lone pair of panties flew to him and landed on his shoulder like a bird. Looking at the black-laced lingerie, he couldn't help but wonder who they belonged to. Why aren't you an exquisite little thing? Naruto said. What happened next was something that would be considered crazy. He started communicating with the panties which were flapping its wings and making gestures as a way of communicating. It wanted to visit the one that bought them before returning with the others. When it informed him of who bought them, Naruto couldn't help but grin. Oh, sweet payback. That redhead was in for a surprise. At Mao HQ, the HQ was unaffected by the spell due to it having a large barrier around it. So they didn't immediately see the drama. Well, that was until a few females stepped out. That's when the show began. The guards standing outside could only watch in strange fascination and confusion and horror for the female guards. Outside the barrier was chaos, people running around like headless chickens and panties flying around. But that doesn't mean the effect was negated when the person is affected outside. Panties can come and go in the barrier as they please. Like those that were patched on a tree near the guards. So who wants to step outside and check things out? Asked a male guard. Oh hell no, I am not going out there and have my underwear running amok, said a female guard. I will go. I don't have anything underneath, said another female guard with a straight face. Inside HQ, the Mao were about to have a meeting. Akuja, Seraphal and Falbium were there. The only one left was Searsex, who was running a bit late. Suddenly a guard bust into the conference room, startling the Mao. What is the meaning of this? Falbium asked in a commanding tone. He was startled and lost the sleep that was catching up to him, so he was grumpy. I am sorry, my lord, but we have a situation that needs Akuja-sama's immediate attention, the guard stuttered under the intense gaze of the Mao. And what would that be? Are we under attack? Akuja asked. The other Mao were also ready to get into action. I think so, sir, but you have to see it to determine what it is we are dealing with, the guard said as he went to the screen in the room and typed something. Soon the feed from multiple cameras placed around the city was beamed on the screen. The mouse stood stark still trying to process what they were seeing. Never in their mind did they envision this would happen. Well, after that rating game maybe it was possible. Are you seeing what I am seeing? Akuja asked, jaws hitting the floor. If you are seeing flying panties then yeah I am. What the heck did they put in our tea to make us see the same absurd thing? Falbium answered, his mind already in the gutter. If those panties were flying around then that means their owner's sniff blood comes out of his nose as he looked at Serafal. Hey, don't look at me perv. I still got my panties on. Well Akuja-tan, good luck. I am going to make sure I keep my magical undergarments till Naruto-tan gets here, Cephal said as she went back to her seat. Wait, he is here? Both men asked, getting a nod from Serafal before all had a look of realization. It was him. Well, fuck this shit, I am going to sleep, Akuja said as he went straight for the door to his private bed chambers. There was no way in hell he was going to deal with panties. Who knows, he might lose his in the process. He was about to open the door when it bust open and a red blur ran into him. Akuja-chan, you gotta help me, it won't leave me alone. Sears cried out to his friend in a state of panic. Akuja looked at his friend in confusion. Hey, don't worry Sears, we will figure thing out after this fiasco blows over. Just prepare a statement for the press and… Akuja didn't finish his statement as he saw why his friend was in a state of panic. Who wouldn't? Patched on Sears' shoulders was a pair of black-laced lingerie that he recognized. After all, Sears dragged him through many lingerie shops to buy those. Well, this was embarrassing. A Mao with a pair of panties on his shoulders is a bird. What next? An eye patch, a pirate hat and a hooked hand and a name that goes something like Captain Panty Shot or Captain Black Laces. Akuja tried his best not to laugh. You are making fun of me in your head, are you? Sears said with a childish pout. To make matters worse for Sears, honey, we got a problem. There is, said Redhead's wife. The blonde woman from before came in and froze as she saw what was on Sears' shoulders. The redhead panicked even more when he saw the changing demeanor on his wife and the flames that ignited from her hands. Yashi was very pissed. Honey, it's not what you think, He didn't finish as he was subjected to the righteous fury. Do devils have this? Of his wife. The guards didn't want to get involved lest they too be beaten to a bloody pulp. They felt sorry for their leader. Popcorn, Serafal offered as they watched Sears getting his ass handed to him. Akuja just shrugged and accepted the popcorn. The woman was vicious. There is a time for bros helping each other out and then there is this. So she is not wearing panties, hey? Serafal asked with a smirk, earning a scream from Sears as his wife beat him even more. Back home, Issei was trying something called DevilTube. He was browsing the videos when something caught his attention. He played the video and his eyes widened. Hey guys, come and take a look at this. He shouted, attracting the attention of the others at Naruto's home. When they saw their video, their eyes widened before they sighed. It was a news clip, the incident in Lilith. They could see panties flying around and women panicking. Issei, thinking of the implications, was knocked out by a nosebleed. Seriously, he just got there and he is causing this much chaos. Rias said with a sigh. I am going to kill him, said a blushing Sona who had visited the others. Well, at least he is stepping up his game, said Akino with a smirk. The others just sweat dropped. After the fiasco, Naruto met up with the panicking young man. Well, that was after he took all the panties and sealed them into his pocket dimension. He was glad he increased the space of that thing, otherwise he would have to eat some of this goodness now. They waited a bit for things to blow over before they went to see Serafal, making sure to avoid the other Mao. Along the way they saw Sears running away from his wife with a pair of panties Naruto recognized patched on his shoulder, refusing to leave. That knew those panties are attached to that guy that they refused to come back to Naruto. Maybe they will become Sears' secondary familiar or messenger panties, he. When they got to Serafal's office, Naruto was glommed by the Mao, earning a glare from the young man he was with. Sheesh, the dude still has it out for him. The guy left the two alone but reluctantly. After that, Serafal subjected Naruto to 5 hours of watching her show along with other magical garment girl variants. He had to admit the show did have a lot of panty shots and a good storyline, even though it was cheesy, but the panty shots were his main takeaway. They visited the forges the next day where he handed the smith the designs that he had made. Both the Mao and the smith were impressed by the level of detail and ideas the boy had. After that, Naruto had to wait for the weapons to be made. This meant spending more time with Serafall. He had to admit she was the exact opposite of Sona. She was cheerful and bubbly with a flair for embarrassing Sona. She was fun to be around. When the weapons were finished, Naruto collected them and promised to visit Sarah and also mess around in the underworld so they could have a laugh later. He stated that the underworld was not bright enough, so he might brighten it. He asked Sarah what was the deal between Graphia and Searsex, but she that said it was Graphia's place to tell and not hers. She also surprised Naruto by giving him her panties for free. Score more ultimate panties. His collection was increasing. Before he left, he gave her a peck on the cheeks before teleporting away, leaving a blushing Mao. Back home, Naruto left the weapons at home before he went to the Orc, where he found an interesting situation. On one side he could see what he assumed to be the exorcists from the church. On the other side was the peerage along with Sona. What was interesting was the state Issei and Kiba were in. It looked like they had gone through a battle with the dirt, cuts and bruises they had. The exorcist also had some minor cuts and bruises, but Asia was taking care of things. Also, Kiba was in a very sore mood, glaring at the exorcists. "Okay, do I really want to know what happened to you too?" Naruto asked, startling everyone as he snuck in without anyone sensing him. This was part of their training and he was going to make sure they were aware of their environment. Maybe paintballs would do the trick. Stop doing that. As for what happened, those two got their asses kicked. Rias answered against the protest of the two boys. Who knows what will happen when Naruto finds out they lost. They lost EY. Good for them, it only means more training for them, he. Naruto cackled as he envisioned what tortures he was going to subject those two. Said boys were lamenting having lost and they were wondering if they would just pack their stuff and disappear. They did put up a good fight though. They were just distracted and the fight was close too. Rias tried to make the boys earn some points. It only shows that the one who trained them sucks, said the blue-haired on in a condescending tone. The rest of Rias' peerage wanted to retort, Kiba especially, but Naruto beat them to it. Oh, that would be me, Missy. So how about this then? Asia-chan heals you to 100% and I will take you both on. Naruto didn't finish as he was cut off. Oh hell no, that's enough panties for one day, shouted a blushing Sona. Oh come on Satan. It's holy virgin panties of high quality too. I want them, he, Naruto whined. He was not going to let those high quality panties walk out of here. No way, they were calling to him, mocking him, saying that they are untouchable, so yeah, he was going to take them. No, do you want to cause a diplomatic incident? Sona tried to reason with him for her own reasons, that's all. A diplomatic incident about panties. The panty incident? I don't think so. It would be too embarrassing if a war was fought over panties. Our guests were confused and nerved at the same time. Why did they get the feeling that this guy was a pervert? If we beat your students, what makes you think you can take us on at the same time? The blue-haired one asked again. I don't know, because I can. Come on, it will be great, I tell ya. And I wanna see if you are capable of protecting those swords of yours. Now this got the reaction he needed. Are you saying we are incapable of protecting these swords? If that's the case, then you are on. We will beat you to a bloody pulp, the blue-haired one said as she shot out of her chair. Good, then tomorrow be ready to lose them holy virgin panties, he. In the now dubbed Uzumaki mansion there were sounds of flesh meeting flesh, followed by a lot of grunting and panting. These sounds were coming from the basement in the training ground. Here we find a panting Kaneko and Schwalen and an okay Naruto. They have been going at it for a while now and Naruto doesn't seem to be tired, not one bit. This was a true testament to the legendary stamina he always brags about. They were taking him on at the same time too. All they needed was to land one blow and they went, what? You guys thought it was the bedroom stuff. Pervs. Then again, who am I to talk? They were having their everyday morning spar, while the others were doing their assigned training routines. Naruto was aiming to improve everyone's skills and push them past their limits. Maybe I should give them limit-breaking hair, aka Super Saiyan hair. He had a gut feeling that things were going to be interesting in the coming future. He wanted to be prepared. Right now he was having a spar with those two who were wearing freaking weights. They were rooks and they were strong, so he was working on increasing their speed even further past what it was during the rating games. He also had heavily suppressed his own speed and power during these spars as a way of training himself. Well, this spar, if you can call it that, was one of Naruto's favorites. Why? Because he gets physical with the girls. There is a lot of groping, licking, disappearing panties, and most recently flying panties. All in all, it was pure molesting, not sparring. Kaneko and Shueilin nodded to each other as they formulated a plan. They were going to use Naruto's weakness against him. They both jumped into the air and performed a spinning axe kick while announcing the obscene name of the attack. Royal Panty Flashing Axe Kick. As the name implies, they literally flashed Naruto their panties when they performed their axe kicks. Poor Naruto saw it coming but didn't have the will to do anything as he appreciated the view given to him. The two attacks connected, driving Naruto into the ground, but he was still standing with a stupid grin on his face which faded away once he realized what happened. He had just been distracted by a damn panty shot. Damn panty flashers, Naruto grumbled. This was his first lose ever since they started these spars. Well, what can you do? They exploited his weakness and he paid for it. Time for some payback. Faster than the two girls could blink, Naruto was upon the two with a mischievous grin. He held them in a hug while placing his head in between their necks. The two girls squealed in surprise. You guys let your guard down. Just because you land a hit on me doesn't mean that you have won the battle. Now you pay the price. Time for some tongue-twisting licky hee hee hee. I am gonna lick you all over. Naruto said as he slowly started to lick their necks slowly while twisting his tongue, earning some squeals and moaning. As much they didn't want to admit it, they liked what Naruto was doing, but didn't he have to do it in the damn training ground with the others around? It was really embarrassing. They were only saved by Graphia's timely arrival. Naruto-kun, your guests have arrived, she said while raising a brow when she saw Naruto frozen mid-lick. This gave the girls the chance to escape and send a thankful look to the maid while Naruto sent her a "you interrupted my fun time" look. Even though Graphia is one of Naruto's lovers, she still liked to be the maid. Maybe it has become a fetish for her. Gray-chan, you interrupted my fun time, Naruto whined like a child. Whatever. I am not the one who told the guest to arrive at this time, Graphia blankly stated, all the while enjoying Naruto's annoyed look. You better hurry up before the boys start another fight. They are not very happy. Well, Kiba is not happy anyway. About their lose yesterday, Graya informed him, prompting Naruto to curse inwardly. He had been having a very good day so far. He won't let those two ruin it. He stood up and went to greet his guests, unaware of the mischievous grin on Akino's face as well as the other girls. Looks like they were planning a little prank of their own. Pranking a prankster. Let's see how this ends. Getting to the door, he was greeted to the sight of Kiba glaring at the exorcists while Issei was chatting with the other one. Well, that's weird. Putting on his famous grin. Welcome to my humble home. I hope the boys were not causing any problems, Naruto said while glaring at Kiba. He will need to have a chat with him. The other exorcist returned the greeting politely with enthusiasm that made Naruto chuckle. Now there is person he can get along well with. The blue-haired one, however. Humble my foot. More like the house of debauchery and all things unholy, she said flatly. Naruto face planted into the ground. Where the heck did the girl get that idea? No such thing happens here. Okay, there is a lot of debauchery happening these days in this house and the residents of the house were all unholy, but she shouldn't say it like that with a straight face. I can assure you no such thing happens. He was interrupted by the blue-haired one who pointed above the front door of the house. Naruto looked and his eyes widened comically with his jaw hitting the floor. Above the door in big bold letters on a billboard was written the words, "Welcome to the house of debauchery and all things unholy." What the hell? That wasn't there this morning. Looking at his beautiful maid lover, he found her suspiciously looking away from him while trying to whistle, but no sound came out, just air being blown. So she was in on it. Now who is the mastermind? Who has the guts to do this to him? Who refers to the house as such? Only one person fits the bill. Akino. In the training ground, watching from a TV screen, were the girls and they were laughing at the priceless look on his face. This was fun. With Naruto, he composed himself and made an excuse that some kids put that there. Yeah, he was a horrible liar. What kid understands what debauchery means or has handwriting that good? Now he feels like Kakashi, which creeped him out. The guests just accepted the lame excuse, a miracle, and followed him inside. While they were heading to the training room, they took time to appreciate the house. This didn't mean they were letting their guard down. No, they were confident that they will win with their swords. Too bad they didn't fully understand whose house they walked into. Arriving at the training room, Naruto ushered them in. "Welcome to our awesome training room," Naruto said as he began to yep on and on about the cool feature of the room, only to be interrupted again by the blue-haired who had a blank face. "More like the cave of depravity and all things unholy," she said while pointing to the other side of the cave where there was another board written, "Welcome to the cave of depravity and all things unholy." Naruto's brow twitched a few times. He was trying to make a good impression on their guests, and these girls pulled this stunt. They were even not trying to hide their snickering. He will deal with them later. For now there were two issues to address. First were his two students who lost their fight, which got him in this mess. "Okay, you two, since you graciously lost your fight, it doesn't reflect well on me as your sensei, so I am upping your training," Naruto said with a grin as he introduced them to their senseis. There were two Akisumes and the other was freaking Apache. Now they were really scared. Akisume was to focus on their speed and Apache, as you have guessed, was to focus on Muay Thai boxing survival style. Firstly, the Akisumes tied car tires on the boys, then sat on them. They had this glow in their eyes that told the boys they were in for it. The two Akisumes then brought out whips and started driving the boys like they were animals as they ran some laps around training ground. "Those poor boys. What the hell kind of training is that?" asked the blue-haired girl with a horrified look which was mirrored by her partner. Never had they seen such an absurd training method as this one. Naruto just shrugged it off before asking for their names. The cheerful one didn't waste any time to give their names, much to the annoyance of the other one. The cheerful one's name was Irina while the blue-haired one was called Xenovia. With the introductions out of the way, time for some molesting, I mean sparing. "So you are going to take us on all by yourself? You won't last a few seconds against us," Xenovia said smugly as she unwrapped her weapon while Irina took out her weapon and transformed it into a katana. Naruto had heard about the abilities of those swords from Rias last night, so he was well acquainted with them. Contrary to popular belief that Excalibur Destruction was the more dangerous of the two, Naruto believed Mimic was more deadly. I mean, a sword that can transform into any shape is a ninja's wet dream. He wondered how Tenten would react if she heard about this sword. From the top of his head he bet she would come just by seeing it in action. Maybe he should have borrowed Tentacles-kun to liven things up. Well, too late for that now. However, those damn cloaks were a nuisance. "Are you going to fight in those cloaks?" Naruto asked as if concerned, but in his head. "What's under those damn cloaks? I wanna see." Xenovia smirked as both exorcists discarded their cloaks to reveal black tight body suits. Naruto's jaw dropped as he took in the spectacle before him. Damn, those are some tight body suits. He could even see their nipples. Those are some curvy exorcists. Way better than shitty priest. And you call us unholy? What the heck are you wearing? That's one of the most scandalous battle getup I have ever seen, and I have seen plenty, most kunoichi. I don't need to imagine what you look like since you guys are practically naked. Naruto exclaimed. That type of clothing can give any guy a boner before the battle even began. How shameful of you to say such a thing. These are clothes meant for battle. And cease your perverted gazing. It repulsive. Xenovia said, creeped out by Naruto's eyes roaming all over their bodies. Poor Irina began to feel self-conscious when Naruto mentioned them being practically naked. Can't help it, okay. Two cute girls wearing that is enough to stop any guy in his tracks. Oh boy, I just pictured us making lots of babies, hee hee hee. Naruto finished with a perverted giggle at the end. The now red-faced Xenovia blindly attacked while a blushing Irina followed suit. The nerve of this guy. When they get their hands on him he will pay. They both attacked in sync, showing their good teamwork. They were impressively fast for humans without some form of energy to boast their speed. However, to Naruto they were none-threatening even with those holy swords. While other devils fear or feel nervous around these swords, Naruto didn't feel anything like that. He was intrigued by the swords. The power they had was incredible. Imagine if these fragments were made whole again. He really needed to get a hold on one of those just to know how it feels to possess such a weapon. But first molest, I mean spar, ya spar, not molest those girls with rocking bodies just waiting for his hand to explore them. Ya, he has become a molester. The girls tried their best to take this boy down, but he proved to be difficult. He was dodging them like it was nothing. Worse, he was playing a game on his phone. They weren't going all out, but this is ridiculous. It was pissing Xenovia off. She was one of the best and this guy was treating her like a child. For now Naruto hadn't taken the offensive, opting to just dodge. He was doing his best to not grope the girls. His girls were now standing a safe distance away, making bets on how long he will last before he starts molesting the guests. Really, was he that bad? A surprised yelp from Irina was all it took to tell him that he was that bad. The poor girl was blushing as Naruto unconsciously groped her ass. He looked at his hand, which was making groping motions on its own without being commanded to do so. Stupid hand. Luckily he didn't use his special technique, otherwise she would have been a mess right now. Off to the side a happy Asia was collecting her winnings. Lucky girl. Why you? I am going to murder you. Xenovia shouted as she charged at him, this time not holding back. Her sword was glowing with power, which was released when she swung her sword at Naruto. Naruto dodged the swing, but he had to whistle when he saw the trail of destruction led by the sword. The sword really lived up to its name. However, because Naruto was too close to Xenovia when she attacked, he had the opportunity to get a close-up view of her modest bosom. I am going to kill you, you perverted molester, shouted a red-faced Xenovia. I am not a molester, Naruto shouted back at the girl. At least he didn't deny that he was a pervert. Then what is your hand doing? The girl shouted back. Naruto's hand was furiously groping the girl. There was no tomorrow. Maybe it thought that this its only chance to do so. Damn stupid hand with a mind of its own. But surprisingly her boobs were nice to the touch. I am sorry, but this hand has a mind of its own, Naruto shouted, but he never stopped groping the girl. Then let me relieve you off that troublesome body part, the girl suggested. No, I love my hand where it is. And why are you not stopping the hand from groping you? Because it surprisingly feels nice. No sooner did the girl say that did she realize what she just said. She shut her mouth and jumped back, her eyes open wide. Why the heck did she say such a thing? She isn't like this. And why did his touch feel so good? Maybe she has a fetish for being molested. Off to the side the other girls were having fun watching the show. Man, this is so amusing, we should have brought a camera to record this, Ria said before she heard a cough from Akino and saw the girl discreetly recording the proceeding on her phone. Back to the molesting fight, Xenovia composed herself and went on the offensive again. Irina followed up her partner by switching her sword to a whip, which she tried to use to capture Naruto, who expertly slipped from its grasp. She switched to a bow stuff, but Naruto blocked her attacks with a kunai. Naruto was looking at her oddly. In his head, damn, that's my kind of girl. She surely knows her weapons. She just needs a bit more training. Screw being Issei's childhood friend, she is definitely getting into my harem. That sounds so weird. Steal. A flash of light was all it took and Naruto was one happy camper. Naruto backed away from the two while having a large grin on his face. Man, it took some time. Those tight-ass bodysuits of yours made things difficult, but I managed. I present to you extra virgin holy panties, he he he, Naruto said as he showed the girls articles of clothing they were very familiar with. In his hand were their panties, their extra virgin holy panties. The two girls blinked, then blinked again, trying to process what the heck just happened. They were sure that those were their panties which they were wearing, but now they weren't. Just how the heck did he take their panties while they were still wearing them without them noticing? Embarrassment and humiliation was what they felt. This kind of thing shouldn't happen to warriors of their caliber. So the two girls attacked the grinning boy, aiming to retrieve their clothing. Which was not an easy task. He was happily dodging them like it was nothing. And was he sniffing and licking their panties? As Naruto was dodging, he was tripped by a stray stone, making him fall straight into the oncoming Irina, who could do but crash into the boy. Naruto quickly reacted by flipping so that he was on the bottom, thus saving the girl from injuring herself. The girl was surprised that he would something like this for her, an enemy. However, that all drained away as the girl flew away from him with a cute eep and a massive blush. Why? Because Naruto was getting handsy with her nicely shaped behind. Stop molesting us, you pervert, Xenovia shouted as she got to her friend's side. Hey, it's not my fault she has a nice ass, Naruto shouted. That was one fine ass. Now he really wanted to get his hands on that ass. So that's what you do to all these girls, including that witch, Xenovia said. Off to the side Asia flinched while the other girls narrowed their eyes at Xenovia. Even her friend sighed as if saying, not this again. That issue had come up after Issei and Kiba's beat down. You are referring to Asia, aren't you? Naruto asked in an eerie calm voice. Zenobia, being the stupid arrogant fool, nodded. You know, I was willing to overlook the fact that you made our dear Asia cry when I heard the story last night. Which no, not in the least. But if you had called Akano a witch I wouldn't mind. I mean, she is one sexy witch, they do some cosplay. However, let me tell you something. You say it wrong to heal a devil, right? There are a few flaws in your reasoning. One, if she wasn't supposed to heal a devil, then her sacred gear wouldn't have worked. The fact that it worked means that it was supposed to heal everyone, even devils. So by that alone she did nothing wrong. 2, you are hypocrites. I read your Bible and I gotta say it has some interesting ideas that if properly followed we wouldn't be having wars. Those principles lead to peace. I read a passage which said, love your enemies and do good to those that hate you. Asia followed that with all her heart, which you guys are breaking. It's you guys who should have been kicked out. Your church is corrupt and it needs to be cleaned up. Your higher ups I don't have a problem with, since they let me do some stuff most devils are afraid to do. It's the others that are the problem. Your church had someone like Freed and those who conducted the Holy Swords project, which was barbaric. I mean, experimenting on children and torturing them isn't holy at all. So Zenobia, it's time for you to learn the hard way. By the time Naruto finished his little speech, several things were happening. Asia was happy that Naruto defended her. The girls were smiling but at the same time wondering what Naruto does, which was allowed by the angel faction. Irina seemed to be contemplating on Naruto's words, while Zenobia was even more pissed off. Kiba's anger had greatly lessened because of a few things. 1, he was touched by Naruto's little speech, putting those church flunkies in their place and also acknowledging that the Holy Swords project was evil. 2, how can he be angry with an Akisame transformation beating the crap out of him? And Apachai waiting to give them more painful Muay Thai boxing lessons. As for Issei, well, he was fuming. Naruto dared molest his childhood friend in front of him. He could have at least done so when Issei was not around. Take that back or I will be forced to unleash the full might of my fragment, Zenobia shouted. No one insults the church in her face. Akano snorted. Era, dear me. She is saying her fragment is more powerful than Naruto's mighty Excalibur. Let me tell you something, Naruto's Excalibur is infinitely more powerful than yours. I mean, it slew every woman in this room and I have a feeling you will be next, she said with a smirk. This confused the exorcists while Naruto just groaned. There she goes advertising his tool to strangers. How can a devil wield a holy sword, and where did he get one? Zenobia shouted with a dangerous edge in her voice. Oh, he always had it and it's in his pants. I see you like big swords, evidenced by the giant sword that you have. I am sure you will like his because it's huge, Akano replied with a mischievous grin, not at all fazed by the girl's threats. It took the exorcists a few moments to realize what she was talking about before they both spotted large blushes on their faces when they realized what she was talking about. Naruto, on the other hand, ignored the awkward situation before him. He simply disappeared from view, then appeared between the two frozen girls with his target in mind. Just think of what licked when he took Asta's sword. Irina's weapon. He simply took the girl's weapon before she could even react. Said weapon began to give off a glow it never displayed before, like it had accepted Naruto. At the same time, Naruto was humming to himself as he studies the sword. Looks like there is more to these fragments than meets the eye. Everyone was shocked when they saw this. No devil can hold a holy sword, especially this sword. They will die for sure, and painfully, might I add. And yet here was Naruto holding the sword like they were meant to be together. You said this sword can turn into anything, I imagine, right? Naruto said with a smirk before he turned to Zenobia. Girl, you have one huge stick up your ass. Time for me to replace it with a holy stick up your ass. This statement alone shook Zenobia out of her stupor. She was now feeling nervous seeing the grin on Naruto's face. She felt the urge to cover her behind no matter what. This feeling was further cemented when Naruto turned Excalibur mimic into a dildo. An 15-inch long and 2 inches thick golden dildo oozing golden energy. Some it was bleeding from the slit on the front, making it look like pre-cum. It was a sight to behold, but for our poor sheltered exorcists it was a nightmare. Zenobia now had a new objective, to get that thing as far away from her ass as possible. However, it was too late because Naruto phased out of existence and appeared behind her. Improvised move. Excalibur's A 1000 years of painful pleasure. The The two girls could do nothing as they watched in slow motion Naruto shoving the full length of that monstrosity through Xenovia's bodysuit right up her ass. The girl was launched upwards with a pained expression which later turned into one of bliss. When she landed on the other side of the training room she had fallen into a blissful unconsciousness. On the sidelines. Ouch, that's gotta hurt, but how the hell did he do that? Only those with a high affinity for holy swords can wield it, not to mention that he is a freaking devil. Shouted a shocked Rias. I don't know, but that one hell of a way to put that girl in her place. He has one twisted imagination, commented a turned-on Akino whose S&M side was surfacing. Now that what I call your ass being totaled, came the amused but monotone voice of Kaneko. Back to the molesting. Naruto gave Irina a scary Saitama look, the one he gave the ground dragon after beating the Beast King, prompting the girl to almost shit herself while she covered her behind. There was no way she was going to suffer the same fate as Xenovia. Naruto grinned as an idea popped up. The main aim of this spar was to assess the strength of those exorcists to see if the church was in its right mind sending just 2 warriors into enemy territory. 2. Be honest, the church was high. Very high on shit that is illegal among the illegal kind. Why in the freaking 9 circles of hell did they send 2 exorcists with Excaliburs that the enemy wants to steal with no backup? These 2 were weak, they won't stand a chance against an unknown enemy. Well, at least he gets to test out some techniques he wanted to try. But first let's see how good she is without her primary weapon. So Naruto engaged the girl in hand-to-hand. She was faring well, but her hand-to-hand skills were abysmal. She needed a lot of work because he was holding back beyond the level he uses against Kaneko. So yeah, they will need to get involved to retrieve the fragments. But for now, time to test out some cool theories of his. He unsealed a normal-looking katana and held it in both hands. He had a look of concentration like he was about to release an awesome power. But what he said next had everyone bar Irina face plant into the ground. Bankai. And as you can imagine, nothing happened, confusing Irina and gained an amused giggle from Hinata. You are watching way too much anime. That doesn't work. Those are just abilities from an anime. And you need a Zanpakuto which doesn't exist, shouted an exasperated Rias. What the hell was he thinking anyway? Hinata discreetly hid her katana while she was whistling innocently. She was greatly surprised that someone managed to make an anime about the Soul Society. Even the characters and the abilities plus some of the storyline were accurate. Well, except for her going there, that is. Okay, on to the next. I am the born of my sword. As you can guess, it didn't work either. The hell, I was sure this one would work. I mean, I have the scabbard, for goodness sake. If that exists, why not the technique? Naruto ranted in his head, much to the amusement of his partner. But Zirconis was wondering the same thing. That technique should have worked. It's an awesome technique. On the sidelines, Issei was having the time of his life. Watching Naruto's epic failures was comedy gold. Ha 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 ha, man, that's hilarious. So what are you going to try next? Pull a Natsu on her? Issei laughed. There was a reason he suggested this particular character. So he prepared for more comedy. Naruto grinned as he prepared his attack. He knew he could pull this off since he was a phoenix now. Fire Dragon's Roar. Naruto declared his attack as he powered up, releasing a pillar of flames around him. He then took a deep breath and released a beam of flames a little bit away from the awestruck girl, leaving a deep trench with the ground turning to lava on the surface because of the heat. However, what Issei expected happened. If it was in the anime where fire users can surround themselves with fire without their clothes getting burnt, it would be okay. If Naruto had practiced his fire manipulation, this wouldn't have happened. Issei was rolling on the ground, laughing his guts out as he looked at Naruto butt naked. The other girls were amused at the situation. Behold Excalibur, the lady killer, Akino declared. Poor Irina. While she was shocked by Naruto's attack, Naruto took the opportunity to walk towards her. So imagine her surprise when she came face to face with the mighty Excalibur. She looked horrified at the prospect of that thing entering any woman. It was huge, bigger than what they saw in the pictures during sex ed. Naruto felt that something was wrong. Looking down, he saw that he was butt naked. His partner took the liberty to tell him that he burned his clothes in between his own laughter. Naruto twitched as he berated himself for making such a mistake. So to save face, he did something even more hilarious. Terminator theme playing in the background. Naruto gave the girl a serious look before saying in an Arnold Schwarzenegger tone, Come with me if you want to bang. The poor girl did something that made Hinata proud. She fainted but not before she muttered, huge, turning around. Issei's laughter was immediately cut off. He also beheld the mighty Excalibur. He felt so inadequate, like he was half a man. Kiba felt the same too. They all had one thought in mind. That just not fair. Thank you for listening. I do hope you guys enjoy. If you guys enjoyed this, what if you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below and turn on the bell notifications, and also check out the other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.